This is Adelaide's FIVEaa.
A possible shower today and 17 with the 6 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Woken with a stiff neck or sore back? Get a Physio Extra appointment today. 6 locations, physioextra.com.
Victoria's latest COVID outbreak has links to a Port AFL game. Nine's Gabrielle Hodson says one of the 9 positive cases in Melbourne was at the MCG on the weekend.
The Department of Health and Human Services says a person who's tested positive to COVID attended the Collingwood Port Adelaide game on Sunday. Authorities say the case was in Zone 4 of Level 1 in the Great Southern Stand at the Punt Road end. 23,000 footy fans were there at the time. Now the AFL and MCG staff are using QR codes and ticketing data to contact them.
The AFL is also in talks about this weekend's matches, including the Crows-Richmond clash. Ladder leaders, the Western Bulldogs, are in quarantine ahead of Friday's game against Melbourne, and there's a pause on ticket sales for the next 2 rounds. A teenager is in hospital after being hit by a car at Thorngate. It happened on Thorngate Street around 8:40 last night. The victim has sustained serious but not life-threatening injuries. The female driver was shaken but not hurt. The state road toll for the year has risen to 44 after a bus-ute crash in the Clare Valley yesterday afternoon. The 51-year-old at the wheel of the ute died at the scene. The bus driver was taken to hospital with minor injuries. Major Crash is investigating. Voluntary dying legislation will go before the lower house tonight. It's South Australia's 17th attempt in 25 years to pass euthanasia laws. There'll be a candlelight vigil at Parliament House to support the bill. Advocate Lainey Anderson is encouraging all South Australians to attend.
We would love as many South Australians to come along as possible from 5:30 to 6:30, and the aim really is to just try and show the strength of support for this bill across South Australia.
US President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin will come face-to-face for the first time next month. The meeting comes amid escalating tensions between Washington and Moscow as the White House confronted Russia over its interference in the 2020 elections. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says it's hope progress will be made in restoring the relationship between the two countries.
We don't see this meeting as an opportunity to just talk about everything we agree on. We see this as a diplomatic opportunity for the United States, one that's in our national interests, which is to convey areas where we disagree.
Americans are remembering George Floyd on the first anniversary of his death. The unarmed black man was killed at the hands of a white police officer, sparking worldwide protests. American civil rights activist, the Reverend Al Sharpton, says the 46-year-old's death ignited change.
George Floyd's murder energized and ignited a movement all over the globe. And the thing that was extraordinary about this is that it was intergenerational and it was multiracial.
Now to FIVEaa Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
And it's good morning to Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Mel. As we've heard in the news with you, the AFL is frantically trying to work out what to do for this weekend's round of matches. That's after the latest COVID cluster in Melbourne. At this stage, the Crows are set to play against Richmond at the MCG on Sunday. Meantime, midfielder Matt Crouch has had successful surgery to repair his groin injury. Crows head of footy Adam Kelly telling the club's website they're hopeful he will take to the field again in 2021.
We're very hopeful that Matt will be available for selection later in the season. At this stage, given that surgery's only just been undergone, it's difficult to put a timeline on it, but early indications are it'll be somewhere around 10 weeks.
Still on footy in Gold Coast, Nick Holman's 2-match ban for a chase-down tackle that left Mitch Duncan with concussion was overturned at the tribunal last night, freeing him up to play against Hawthorn this weekend. Carlton will consider its options for appeal after Lockie Plowman's 2-match ban for rough conduct was upheld. Richmond's Marlon Pickett failed to have his strike downgraded also. Well, the Adelaide 36ers have gone down to New Zealand in their NBL clash overnight, going down 94-76. Meantime, Milwaukee's taken a commanding 2-0 lead in their best-of-7 playoff series against Miami in the NBA, while Denver beat Portland to square its series at 1 apiece. And the NRL is looking at contingency plans for Origin 1, which is due to be played at the MCG in a fortnight. At this stage, the game will go ahead as planned, but the NRL will monitor Melbourne's COVID cluster with Perth, Canberra or Adelaide a chance of hosting the event. And that's the FIVEaa Sport.
Now the FIVEaa forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
A possible shower for your Wednesday, 17, partly cloudy tomorrow, 18, and much the same again on Friday. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Ecopia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 after 6, good morning and welcome to a windy Wednesday in Adelaide. We've got a big program for you on the way this morning. We've been in touch already this morning with the Premier's office. We're hoping to chat with him and get any new developments after 7 o'clock this morning on the situation in Victoria, where right now Victorian contact tracers are scrambling to determine who, if any, have been in contact with a COVID-positive patient at the MCG with the Port Collingwood game on the weekend. We want to hear from Port fans. If anyone travelled over and went there, give us a sense what it's like going to the MCG at the moment, COVID restriction-wise. Are there masks? Are there QR code sign-ins? Well, people observing social distancing, all that kind of stuff. If you were there, we'd love to hear from you today. And I'll tell you what, if you were between M1 and M16 on your printed ticket in Zone 4, Level 1, we really want to hear from you because you're in the hot spot where this person was getting around on Sunday. We'll talk more about that over the course of the morning. Also today, Pete Evans in hot water after his little period where he turned his Instagram page into an online shop and sold all sorts of fandangled technology that, guess what? Surprise, surprise, it turns out it's total garbage. You can't do that when you're saying it has medical properties, though, and he's copped a fine. We'll talk about that. Sean Fuster's on the show. Tom Duday, is he signing a new contract this week? We'll talk to him about that. And also the Crows' 1-point win on the weekend. And then we will catch up with John Ferguson in Melbourne, who we've spoken to previously, one of your old mates, David, who working for the Sun.
Yeah, Herald Sun. Started off... he's from Narracourt originally, Fergs. He used to be the state political editor for the Tiser. Then he was the federal political correspondent for the Tiser. Worked with Rex Jory and Greg Kelton and all those greats from yesteryear. But he's the Melbourne bureau chief now for the Australian. And I tell you, as a long-term Melburnian resident, father of 3 boys, who spent most of last year locked in his house, being the Melbourne bureau chief when not helping his kids do their homework and trying to stop them from crawling up the walls. Fergs had the hangdog tone of a man who feels like things might be teetering on the brink again over there.
It feels awfully like that.
Well, it does a bit. It does a bit. Let's not... What's the buzzword from last year? Catastrophize yet. But given their track record in Victoria for shutting things down, and given the fact that they already know firsthand how bad it can be when these things get out of control, where you get up to the 800 cases a day mark, it's unnerving, isn't it? And it's unnerving for the Port fans who are over there for the game. Now, judging from... I only saw a little bit of the match on Sunday. And I remember seeing the Port cheer squad, noting how many of them were wearing black and white, which I thought was funny, given they were at a Collingwood home game, sticking it up the pies. It didn't look like there was a massive Port contingent there. But if you were there, we would love to hear from you. Because it's at that point now where a lot of people have been thinking, like you the other week, Will, let's go to Melbourne.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, small mercies. The fact that it was the smallest Collingwood MCG crowd in 50-odd years turns out to be the best possible news.
23,000.
23,000 is all there were. So you'd like to think they were reasonably dispersed around the stand.
Yeah.
So, Saline from Richmond's called in. Saline, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. We were with the Port Adelaide cheer squad, so we're isolating today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We feel fine and everything. So we haven't been called or notified by the QR code yet, but we've had our mates in Victoria that have said to us to isolate.
Yeah. Can you remember from memory, Saline, or I don't know if you still have your tickets or if they were emailed to you, but do you know exactly where you were sitting? Were you sitting
we're in Bay M4, down Punt Road end, so we're one of the hot zones.
Oh, so you're in the spot, yeah. You are in the spot. Yeah,
we are.
Bay
we
4.
are dead set in the spot. It's a bit scary that it happens so quickly. And I mean.
So how did you know to isolate? Did friends ring you and tell you?
Yeah, they've texted us this morning and that, and I mean, luckily I'm usually up at this time, and so is Chrissy. That just said that to confirm that we were in the area and we need to get tested. The sad part is that Chrissy's a subcontractor as well, so she doesn't get paid today, not working.
Yeah, it's a big hit for people.
Did you have to sign in as your QR codes and stuff when you're at the footy, Ceylon?
We had to sign in QR code. So it's pretty much the same as here in Adelaide. Even the restaurants we went to, we had the QR code. The only difference is that we don't have to wear masks going into the stadium or out of the G.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you travel to most of the Port Away games, or to a lot of the Port Away games, Ceylon?
Yes, yeah, we do. We sit with the cheer squad and cheer our little hearts out. So.
Well, you got the 4 points. Hopefully you didn't get the COVID. It sounds like you're going to be all right.
yeah, that's right. I mean, the 4 points was the main thing, and the good thing is that getting tested is that it happens so quickly. You get the results. So this weekend we won't have to miss a game, hopefully.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you,
stuff.
Ceylon.
Thanks, Ceylon.
Kelly in Dry Creek, you went to the game too?
Yes, I did, yep.
Did you get the text?
Yeah, I got about 11 o'clock last night.
Where were you sitting?
Yeah. I was just about to head to bed and it come through, so I had to, because me and Anne, my daughter, and her friends, we all went over. We all got notified and we're all home today.
So you were at ground level then, when you were watching the game?
I was in M3. So.
Okay.
So were you sitting with the cheer squad or near the cheer squad, Kelly?
I was right behind the goal. So, right.
So it sounds like it was... Based on what you said and what Celine said, it sounds like the exact area where most of the Port fans were sitting is in the hot zone, as it's called.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Yeah, because I turned up with my mask, and I was the only person with a mask, so I was a bit shocked that we didn't go in with a mask or anything. So it was pretty blasé. The only thing we had to do was the QR code. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what was the text you got? Did it come from Victorian Health or how?
Yeah, Department of Health of Victoria.
Yeah, right.
Just said there's a case and you're part of it.
So they must have got everyone's ticket details from the MCC and then done it from when you bought your ticket online.
Yeah. The only problem we have today is my daughter's 21st was today, last year, and everything was closed, and now we can't do anything for her today either. So we're all quarantined.
Oh, crikey!
Yeah.
What a pain.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, hopefully it's just precautionary and you're all okay and you gave the person a wide berth. Thank you. We've been sent a text, the text that the Department of Health in Victoria sends out. It says this. This is a message from the Department of Health Victoria. You are receiving this message because you've been identified as attending the Collingwood v Port Adelaide match at the MCG on 23 May 2021. You have been assessed to be a Tier 3 close contact. What you should do, monitor yourself for symptoms only. If you develop symptoms of COVID-19, you should get tested and isolate until returning negative. For more information on testing sites and so on and so forth. So
Tier 3 is a hell of a lot less scary than Tiers 1 and 2.
Yeah, it is.
Tier 3 is not...
Well, let's find that. Let's get some more information on that because Reese is the one who sent us the text and he's on the line as well. Reese, were you sitting in that range of bays M1 to M16 at ground level?
No, I look like, listening to you blokes this morning, gents, I'm just around an M54, just in the pocket, so I think I've just avoided the hot area.
So that's probably why you're Tier 3.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, right, okay.
So the text that the first two callers got from M1 to M16, I imagine would have directed them to quarantine. Your message, it looks like, is just, if you develop symptoms, go get it checked out.
Yes. Yeah,
right, okay.
So I'm up here in Canberra, and I'm still just going to ring, because I'm in one of the big government departments now, so I'm going to ring my boss and make sure he's still happy for me to come in. But it looks like I've, for now, just skated through as being not too bad. But I was planning on coming home on Friday night, so today's my birthday. So I had the trip planned home this weekend to see everybody and say hello and go to the Fremantle game on Sunday. That's all been cancelled and everything, so I'll just hang out here now and watch from afar.
Yeah.
So you were M55.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's
pretty close, still punt road in though. But luckily at the G, how Victoria's doing is they've got the crowd in sections.
Yeah.
So your 4 or 5 bays, you can only walk between those bays. So I couldn't walk into the punt road where the cheer squad was if even I wanted to. There were security guards blocking the way. So
that's interesting information, Reece, and it's interesting you point that out, mate. And thank you for the call, because I was going to say M55. Say we don't know where the person was sitting, but say they were in M3, directly behind the goals, sitting with the cheer squad. M55 is closer than M16 because M55 is actually just the other pocket. So
Yeah, right.
if you're trying to picture in your head the area that was quarantined at the footy, it's probably from one forward pocket around to almost centre wing on the opposite side.
Right.
So it takes in. It's probably it's effectively a quarter of the ground at ground level, starting just beyond the goal square, coming back towards you, and then up towards centre wing, up towards sort of the half forward flank if you're kicking towards that end.
Yeah, right.
And so it seems peculiar to look and see there are bays on the other side of the goals further around that pocket that are fine. But as Reece has just told us, that's clearly a byproduct of good management, whereby you can't cross-pollinate with people that are sitting in other sections.
I've just worked out what the tiers are. So tier 1, get tested immediately. This is based on the Victorian government's own coronavirus website. Tier 1, get tested immediately and quarantine for 14 days from exposure. Tier 2, get tested urgently and isolate until you have a negative result. And Tier 3, which is Reece's category, is just keep an eye on yourself, make sure you don't get any symptoms.
We've just heard back from one of the first listeners that called us that was sitting in the Port Adelaide cheer squad. They are considered Tier 2. So Reece was Tier 3, not in the section between M1 and M16 at the MCG on level 1.
So do we think then that none of these people are considered Tier 1?
Well, yeah, until we hear otherwise.
Yeah.
Until we hear otherwise. So Tier 2, the people like our first two callers have to get tested, and they can only come out of isolation once they get a negative result.
Yes, that's right.
17 after 6. Keep the texts and calls coming in, folks, if you're at the game. 822 3000. We'd love to hear from you. 0448 08 1395. That's the Telstra Stormount Barker text line. We have just heard back from the Premier's office. He will be on the show with the latest on this just after 7 o'clock, so make sure you stay listening for that. We've got news headlines coming up in a moment.
Whether you're a Sparky, a Chippy, a Fiery or a Bikey, whether they call you Curly, Tubby or Tiny, whether next door means a few feet or a few miles, we know the weather's harsh in South Australia. But Olympic Industries carports, verandas and sheds are tougher than most. And if they're strong enough in the country, they'll be strong enough in the city. For a limited time, you can save heaps across the entire range. Olympic Industries end of financial year sale. Built to last.
Decided you need to get behind the wheel of a new Mazda? You don't have to wait for end of financial year sales. Mawson Lakes Mazda has amazing deals across the entire range of new Mazdas right now. With up to 300 cars on site, you're sure to find the model and colours you're dreaming of. Or drive away in a low-kilometre demo before the crush of end of financial year sales. Don't wait months. Get into Mawson Lakes Mazda now. Just a short drive from the city.
Cruise the breathtaking fjords and vistas of Norway and the Baltics with Phil Hoffman Travel. Sail 21 nights from Amsterdam aboard Holland America Line's newest ship, the perfectly sized Rotterdam. Visiting Copenhagen, Helsinki, Stockholm and St. Petersburg. Includes meals, entertainment plus exclusive booking bonuses. Departing May 2022 from $5,299 per person twin share. Contact Phil Hoffman Travel. Visit pht.com.au.
People aged 50 and over can receive their COVID-19 vaccine at selected vaccination clinics. And from the 17th of May, it will be available at participating general practices. It's voluntary, free, and the best way to protect you and your community. Our Therapeutic Goods Administration continues to closely monitor the safety of all vaccines in Australia. Find out where you can get vaccinated at australia.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Good leaders always look to support local, and they stay local. Like Leader Computers, Australia's largest Australian-owned PC manufacturer, based right here in South Australia. Having a world-class manufacturer of computers is a big win for our state, providing jobs and local support you simply can't get from overseas companies. Looking for the latest Intel and Microsoft-based computers at great pricing with the huge benefit of local support? Google Leader Computers to find your closest Leader reseller.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
21 after 6, the Premier on after 7 o'clock with the latest on the situation in Victoria. It's a fluid situation, so our news headlines right now may change over the course of the next 30 or 40 minutes. New COVID-safe restrictions have come into force across Melbourne with a confirmed 9 people infected in Melbourne's outer north. Until at least Friday next week, only 5 visitors are allowed in homes and up to 30 can gather in public spaces. Everyone over 12 must wear a mask indoors. Melburnians travelling to regional Victoria will have to take the restrictions with them. All other states and territories, as well as New Zealand, have introduced strict entry rules for people travelling from Victoria. 140 Australians are back on home soil after being rescued from COVID hit India. One person tested positive before the repatriation flight left India and wasn't allowed to board. Passengers have been transferred to quarantine hotels in Sydney. Genomic testing of some of the 9 COVID cases in Melbourne's north has found they contracted the Indian strain of the virus. This is actually one that's causing a deal of concern in the UK at the moment as well. They're doing localised lockdowns, even though they've had some 72.6% of the population now vaccinated.
72.6%.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
What about bet 25?
Yeah, at best. Australia's trade surplus improved by $10 billion last month as the nation exported more and imported less. According to the Bureau of Statistics, we exported $36 billion worth of goods in April, including coal, oil and medical products. The preliminary data shows we only imported $26 billion worth of product. For many, many years, we always had a negative trade. We had a trade deficit, and which is not the end of the world.
No.
But
it was forever the case, wasn't it?
We almost accepted, well, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
It's certainly turned around. New legislation cracking down on dangerous driving will be introduced to state parliament today. The bill would see hoon drivers face increased jail sentences and licence disqualifications.
I'll tell you what, make your children, if your kids are about to get their Ps, or even if they're not, even if they're like, I reckon about 13 would be the age to show them this video, because it is just terrifying. The video that Vicky Chapman and the police released yesterday of this half-wit motorcyclist.
Yeah.
I mean, might sound callous saying that, given that the bloke's got a massive brain injury now. How he didn't die in that crash that he filmed is beyond me. It's the most staggering thing. Doing like 237 kilometres an hour on an Adelaide suburban road.
It's precisely the behaviour that this legislation is going to target. I can't imagine we'll have a single listener who thinks it's a bad idea. The Attorney General's coming up before 7 o'clock, and we'll go into the detail then. 23 after 6, mentioned it's a windy start to the day. Certainly was where I was. How about Woodville? What was the wind gauge in Woodville?
Woodville?
Wayville.
Can we get one of our Woodville callers to call in?
I'm always intrigued
It was windy. There's a lot of gum tree action.
Yeah.
The big gum tree dropped not big branches, but just little seed nuts and what have you.
It felt like the forecast is only 20 to 30k an hour winds, and it felt stronger than that this morning. Anyway, there's only a chance of a 1 mil of rain. Top of 17. It's going to be fairly cool. Tomorrow, top of 18, 11 overnight, 18 again on Friday with no rain. Saturday will be 18, Sunday 18, Monday 18, no rain over the weekend. 24 minutes after 6.
Well, now we're joined by another happy Arbor Vitae customer. We all know by now that Arbor Vitae Joint Health contains potent, natural, anti-inflammatory and antioxidant ingredients, which may provide a whole bunch of benefits. Gary, when did you start taking Arbor Vitae and what for?
3 years ago, I started taking it for mild osteoarthritis. I had some pain in my knee. I'd heard about a product on the local radio station. I took it for 2 weeks and my pain simply went away.
Am I right in saying you were told you may need a knee replacement?
I just turned 50 and they were talking about a knee replacement. I thought, well, I may as well go and do it. And only that I heard about this product, the fear of a scalpel led me towards it. And I thought, well, what the hell? I'll give it a go, and the rest is history. It's brilliant.
So, Gary, you're a forklift driver. Your job, no doubt, would have a high level of labour involved. You've noticed significant benefits for you.
Yeah, after 2 weeks, I was sceptical that it might come back, and it hasn't. So, yeah, I do a lot of off and on, up and down. I'm pain-free, so hopefully it stays that way and forever.
So your message for everyone then, if they have any joint pain?
Take my word for it. Just take it. The worst that you can do is not like it or it doesn't work. That's the worst that can happen. Other than that, just give it a go.
Gary, thank you so much for that. If you'd like more information or you want to order, you can visit arbavitae.com.au or call 1300 879 863. Always follow the directions for use. This medicine may not be right for you. Read the label before purchase, and if symptoms persist, talk to your health professional.
You know, the team at Adelaide Tools has been looking after local tradies for over 70 years, and they're taking that service to the next level with their massive new superstore now open in Parafield. You'll find a huge range of trade quality brands on display, and their experienced team really know their stuff. They do more than just stock the right tools, they service them as well. Get into Adelaide Tools at Mile End, Parafield, St Mary's, Lonsdale and Gawler, and check out their huge new superstore in Parafield. Adelaide Tools, trusted brands, trusted service since 1949.
In a hurry? We've got you covered at Solitaire Volkswagen with Service Express. You'll still get the same quality service that you'd expect with meticulous care and attention, but at pit crew speed. With 2 technicians working on your car, you can be in and out in 1 hour and enjoy a coffee in our lounge while you wait. Volkswagen Service Express, exclusive to Solitaire Volkswagen. Visit solitairevolkswagen.com.au for more details. DL 65541.
Older people have rights to make their own decisions, to be safe and to be treated with dignity and respect. But right now in Australia, 1 in 20 older people are experiencing some form of abuse. Fear, sadness and neglect can be signs of elder abuse. For free confidential advice or to make a report, call 1800 372 310. To find out more, search SA Health Stop Elder Abuse. Spot the signs, speak up and help stop elder abuse. A message from the Government of South Australia.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
27 minutes after 6. Getting some messages saying there's a nice moon out there at the moment. If there is going to be tonight a supermoon. We're going to have a lunar eclipse tonight. But right now, we're getting good moon reviews. The problem is the orientation of the building means we can't see them. So unless you send it to us, we think you're lying.
We need a western window.
That's right. The Telstra Storm Outbacker text line's the place to provide your evidence. 0448 08 1395. Tom Wren is in the breakfast studio with us. Save it to $400 on selected meal and cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, the home of Mr. Dishwasher. Morning, Rennie.
Morning to you, Will. Morning, David. Loving all the chat and the feedback you're getting from the people at the weekend at the football. It's, pretty harrowing stuff, so looking forward to the rest of the show and getting to the bottom of it. I thought I'd just go on a slightly different tack as a result. A-League rights are up for grabs, as we know, and it looks like that's going to be a major announcement today, that it's going to confirm that it's going to Channel 10. Now, I think for the first time, it's going to be a real mainline sport, a mainstream sport, certainly here for South Australian viewers, that's going to be streamed for people to have to watch it. So Channel 10 are going to get the rights. They're going to
But will it be on free-to-air?
It'll be on free-to-air, one game a week.
One game.
They'll put another game.
So you get like game of the week.
Game of the week on like a Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
Say, for instance. Another game sounds like it's going to go onto their Bold channel.
So their digital channel. So that's 2 free-to-air, basically.
But then the other games you will have to stream.
Oh.
On a new streaming service that's going to be announced on Channel 10 today.
Do we know whether Channel 10 Adelaide are going to say we'll always play the Adelaide game? Because can't they change it?
I'd suggest no.
My understanding
can't they change it from marketplace to marketplace?
My understanding is that's not going to be the case.
I suppose commercially, why would you want to make it the case? Because you want to make people go, well, actually, I really want to watch Adelaide United.
Now, if it was on, I don't know, Netflix, a lot of people would go, oh, okay, cool. Paramount. Is it Paramount?
Paramount, that's the one.
I don't know. Does Paramount exist in Australia yet? I don't know if anyone's got Paramount. I'm not familiar with it. I saw the headline and I thought...
Because 10 are owned by CBS.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah.
Big American company.
Yeah.
So... look, it does happen with Stan, with rugby union, which impacts a lot of people that like rugby union. Not so many of those here in SA, but I think, soccer is a mainstream sport. I just wonder what this will mean for the sport going forward. Will people jump on? I'm sure a lot will.
I think this is...
I think what it will mean is a lot of people will be really annoyed.
Yeah.
Won't they?
Well, English Premier League fans in Australia had to go through this with Optus.
Yeah,
you had to sign up to Optus when you typically your Fox Sports package carried it.
Well, Optus did that before the World Cup as well. Remember that total debacle where the Optus app wasn't working?
That's right. Yes, it kept buffering.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Andy's just said Paramount Plus launched in the US earlier this year. 10 All Access will be rebranded later this year to Paramount Plus. Is 10 All Access a subscription service? Do you have to pay for it?
$10 a month, he's saying.
Oh, how do you watch A-League at the moment?
Fox.
It's on Fox. It's been on Fox. And
So
they've done
you've got
a
a show every game. You already have to pay.
So you have to pay through Foxtel, but you get to watch every single game.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Or KO. It would hurt their KO digital subscription. It does. It feels
Have
the way
Foxtel
of the
been
world,
picked, or
doesn't
have
it?
they just decided it's not worth it?
They've decided it's not worth it, I think.
And I think Fox probably hemorrhaging a fair bit of money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're really struggling. And one of the other little caveats to it is that they're saying that they're not allowed to bid for the next 5 years on AFL or NRL.
Yeah, I found that was a really intriguing
little
bottom part of the old contract, wasn't it?
Almost, because I guess they don't want them, then getting drowned out by AFL and NRL. If
You buy the rights and go, actually, you know what, we're not going to even show it.
We're going to hide it.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
Good on you, Rennie.
Great stuff. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Tom.
I have to get what is it called? A Paramount Plus, Paramount
Add
Brown
that to your list of subscriptions.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about yesterday.
So at $40 on selected Miele cooking appliances, Adelaide Appliance Gallery, the home of Mr. Dishwasher.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower today in 17 with the 6:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust Physio Extra. Norwood, Purie Street, Marion, Hallicove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. PhysioExtra.com.
Health authorities are racing to track down thousands of footy fans after it was revealed a positive COVID case attended the Port Collingwood game at the MCG on the weekend. Fans seated in Zone 4, Level 1 of the Great Southern Stand are at risk. These 5AA listeners were at the game.
Yeah, we're in Bay M4 down Punt Road, and so we're one of the hot zones. It's a bit scary that it happened so quickly.
Me and Anne, my daughter, and her friends, we all went over. So, yeah, we all got notified and we're all home today. I was in M3. I was right behind the goal.
The COVID outbreak in Melbourne stands at 9. The CSIRO's Dr Rob Grenfell has told Today the next couple of days will be critical in determining whether a hard lockdown is enforced.
The contact tracers at this stage have identified what we call the inner circle, and now they're with the more wider spread testing and the identification of risk areas. Let's now see if there is in fact actually a spread into Tier 2. We'll only get those results over the next 2 to 3 days, and so we are sitting on a knife edge here in Melbourne, I guess.
It's been revealed 3 Victorians aged over 50 at the centre of the latest outbreak had not been vaccinated despite being eligible. Police are investigating an incident at Thorngate last night where a car struck a teenager. It happened at 8:40 on Thorngate Street. The victim has serious but not life-threatening injuries. Tough new laws targeting hoon drivers will be introduced to State Parliament today. It would allow police to strip extreme offenders of their licence on the spot. Attorney General Vicky Chapman says convicted drivers would also face increased jail sentences.
We're talking about 3 and 5 year sentencing. So essentially they can be convicted of driving at extreme speed, jailed up to 3 years, face a mandatory 2-year licence disqualification. And if it's aggravated, i.e. they're running away from police, you can sustain up to 5 years.
The US Secretary of State is pledging to rally international support to rebuild Gaza as part of efforts to bolster a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. Antony Blinken has begun his visit to Middle East in Israel, where he held talks with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr Blinken says Washington will ensure Hamas doesn't benefit from humanitarian aid.
Asking the international community, asking all of us to help rebuild Gaza only makes sense if there is confidence that what is rebuilt is not lost again.
Wills and Kate's week of engagements in Scotland continues. Nine's Carrie-Anne Greenbank reports.
Prince William and Kate have continued their tour of Scotland by heading out to sea to observe the world's largest tidal energy turbine at the European Marine Energy Centre. The royal couple also opening a new hospital on their first official visit to Orkney and hearing from healthcare workers about their experiences during the pandemic.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
And this COVID outbreak in Melbourne is touching sport, Tom Wren.
It certainly is, isn't it, Mel? As we heard with you a little bit earlier, Western Bulldogs players and staff have now hit a hurdle. That's in preparations for Friday night's blockbuster against Melbourne. They're isolating until they get their COVID test results back after a staff member visited an exposure site. AFL boss Gillon McLaughlin says teams have learnt to adapt to changing situations.
Players are all isolated, tested, we'll have the right results overnight. They change their training days, just work through it like our clubs and our players have been doing, and they did a hell of a job.
At this stage, the Crows will still play against Richmond at the MCG on Sunday. Well, it was a busy night at the tribunal last night. Gold Coast forward Nick Holman had his two-match ban overturned for a rough tackle on Geelong's Mitch Duncan. But Richmond's Marlene Pickett and Carlton's Lockie Plowman both failed to have their suspensions overturned or downgraded. Brisbane Roar has jumped up to fourth on the A-League ladder following a 3-0 thumping of Premiers Melbourne City. The Roar are still an outside chance of finishing in the top two. The Adelaide 36ers season is fast running out of puff after going down 94-76 against the New Zealand Breakers last night. Meantime, NBL teams Melbourne United and South East Melbourne Phoenix will be temporarily relocated to Queensland due to the COVID outbreak. Rugby league side Melbourne Storm is already in the Sunshine State ahead of tomorrow's game against Brisbane. And in some tennis to finish, South Aussie Thanasi Kokkinakis won't be playing in next week's French Open after he lost his qualifier to American Mackenzie McDonald last night. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
17 today, a possible shower, partly cloudy tomorrow 18. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 to 7, the Premier of South Australia after 7 o'clock on the latest out of Victoria, including COVID positive patient at the MCG, meaning that there are plenty of South Australians this morning that are waking up to a text message from the Victorian Health Department saying they're either Tier 3 or Tier 2 contacts. You tend to be, seems to be Tier 3 if you're at the MCG, Tier 2 if you're between, it's sitting in zones M1 and M16 at the Punt Road end at the MCG. We've heard from some of those already. If you're one and you're at the game, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 8223 0000 or text us on the Telstra Storm Outbarker text line.
Terrific text here from Guy in Highgate. Hi, Dave and Will. This outbreak in Melbourne is the kick up the backside that will hopefully get the vaccine hesitant to get their jab. We are one step away from a major outbreak. I am 64. I have my first AstraZeneca shot. There's no good waiting until later to get the vaccine if the virus becomes widespread in the community. Get the shot now. Good on you, Guy. 100%.
You must be feeling better about your decision to go early.
Well, I just went when I was told to go by the government. And
day one.
By the health people who know more about these things than I do. So I thought, all right,
That's
they're
a
telling
smart
me
move.
to get vaccinated, I'll get vaccinated.
It's a good move.
One shot down. I mean, having said that, I want you to get vaccinated, mate. I want my wife to get vaccinated. I want the feds to pull their fingers out and make sure that they're doing it. And I want all the politicians. I'll tell you what, I watched 5 minutes of Four Corners the other night and I almost put my foot through the television. They had the half-wit Labor Deputy Premier from Queensland, who I can't remember his name, but he's clearly some young Labor hack, you know, some student politician who's never grown up, just, you know, cleared his diary to spend as much time as he could that day with Adam Harvey from the ABC, who's a really good reporter. It was a good report. I'm not having a crack at that auntie. But this bludger politician, everything was sort of deliberate, raised eyebrows, having a crack at Morrison. And look, there's things the feds have done that deserve to be scrutinised and in some cases criticised ferociously. I think that the feds did a poor job with some key aspects of supply. But having said that, the spectacle of this Labor bloke just doing everything he could to make life as awkward for the feds, what people want are solutions. And it doesn't matter, you know, this between that and question time yesterday, politics is just stuffed in this country. It's just so counterproductive. And for all the we're all in this together hoo-ha last year of National Cabinet and everything else, This year hasn't been like that.
No, it's been the opposite.
This year's been a mess.
I would say, though, that this year is in part what were you going to criticise last year? We were doing well compared to everyone else on planet Earth.
Yeah. Except now we're not.
We're not, which creates political opportunity.
Yes, that's right. And blame shifting.
Yeah, that's right. Well, here's something that'll cheer everyone up. Controversial celebrity chef Pete Evans has been slapped with an $80,000 fine for unlawful advertising. I think we played some of this during our show last year.
Is this the lava lamp?
Oh, yeah, this is the lava lamp plus. The Therapeutic Goods Administration issued him with 6 fines that totalled $79,920. That's serious change. And they also issued a directions notice to the company Pete Evans Chef Proprietary Limited. Note it doesn't say doctor. The fines were issued for advertising therapeutic goods that were not included in the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods. This included a biocharger device, a hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber, and 2 oral medicines.
I was wondering, I don't know why I was thinking about Pete Evans yesterday. I was looking at an old cookbook I got sent in from My Kitchen Rules with a view to taking it to the local Goodwill store, doing a bit of a cookbook cull. Have you ever worked with people who are a bit odd, who you just try to avoid talking to?
Yes.
I was thinking, imagine being like part of MKR and like after a successful shoot, you just stand around chatting to Pete. Yeah. Saw this thing on the news, and people go, oh, yeah, I wouldn't believe that. I wouldn't believe that one. You know, you'd sort of twig to the fact that the guy wasn't quite right in the head, wouldn't you?
I would have thought. That said,
but it's become more and more obvious.
It's amazing the degree which people can sometimes hold it together, or at least appear normal for the purpose of their profession.
Yeah, that's
and the moment there's not that there to keep it all tied up, it all falls apart very quickly.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Now, how did you get your kids to eat veggies? There's really interesting research in the Tizer this morning.
Well, how did I get my kids to eat veggies? No, that's not true. They only eat 3 vegetables.
Which are what 3?
Cauliflower, broccoli, carrot, which is fine. There's enough nutrition.
That's not a bad start.
And they're all different colours, which is helpful. But that is pretty much all they eat.
So according to a new study, babies and children need to be given the same vegetable up to 10 times to increase their chance of liking them. Repeated tastes of a vegetable between the ages of 6 months and 5 years make it more likely children will grow to enjoy them and eat more of them. Flinders University research has deduced this. Other successful strategies uncovered by the researchers for getting children to enjoy vegetables include offering veggies, not fruit, as a first food, and reading children vegetable-based storybooks.
Vegetable-based storybooks?
The cat.
Trying to think of some. Carrot.
Yeah.
Mr. Potato Head. Well, he's been cancelled, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, because
he's gender specific.
We shouldn't predict. I mean, who were we to presume the gender of a potato?
Well, exactly. He might decide one day that he's actually a whole different tuber. I'm not talking about the musical instrument.
Well, I'm interested
in
hearing...
decide that he's a rutabaga or a
well, that's
yam.
right. He might be. Exactly.
Sweet potato.
Who are we to judge? 8223 is the number. How did you get your kids to eat veggies? I mean, puree's the old-fashioned way, isn't it?
One thing that's good is blending them into with a stick wand, with a stick blender, and just putting them into pasta sauces and things like that. Our kids love smoothies though, and they'll drink like a spinach smoothie and think it's great.
I've only discovered this in the past 2 weeks that you can put spinach in a smoothie and it adds no taste.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Beetroot's the same.
It's just good. It's only goodness.
Yeah, it's nice.
And it doesn't, you can have whatever else. It's fantastic. 8223 0000, our number. The Telstra Storm Mount Barker text line is 0448 08 1395. Police and weather are coming up in a moment. Let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
There's a collision on the Southern Expressway in Morphettvale just by O'Sullivan Beach Road. And also if you're travelling out towards Aldinga, a 2-car smash. Main South Road near Malpas Road. A couple of cameras today. Military Road, Henley Beach South and Pym Street, Croydon Park. So make sure you're slowing down for those. And while you're at it, drive through to McCafe. They've crafted a new blend that's smooth and rich with a hint of sweet berry. McCafe, now that's coffee fit for an Aussie. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Nothing beats that new car experience, and you'll still be feeling it long after you drive away in a new Kluger 7-seat hybrid SUV from Jarvis Toyota. With all-wheel drive hybrid power and intelligent safety technology, the Kluger is where freedom meets family. The buzz around the new Kluger is huge, so register your interest at Jarvis Toyota, Clovelly Park today. Rediscover the road in the all-new Toyota Kluger Hybrid at Jarvis Toyota, South Road, Clovelly Park, proudly celebrating 20 years of great deals.
Living with osteoarthritis means living with pain, but SportsMed is changing that thanks to the revolutionary GLAD program. Here's SportsMed's Dr. Greg Keane with more.
GLAD is a 6-week exercise program performed in groups, and it continues to produce remarkable results for patients, even a year after completing the course. If you are struggling with the pain of osteoarthritis, visit SportsMed. Let's beat this.
SportsMed.
Start living life again, even with arthritis.
Sportsmed.com.au.
Whether you're a Sparky, a Chippy, a Fiery or a Bikey, whether they call you Curly, Tubby or Tiny, whether next door means a few feet or a few miles, we know the weather's harsh in South Australia. But Olympic Industries carports, verandas and sheds are tougher than most. And if they're strong enough in the country, they'll be strong enough in the city. For a limited time, you can save heaps across the entire range. Olympic Industries end of financial year sale. Built to last.
Escape the city this winter and enjoy some quality time by the Murray. Why not book your next getaway to the beautiful town of Mannum? With the help of SA Weekend Escapes, plan an outdoor trip in the fresh winter air. Find the best things to see and do and uncover our latest hotel offers for stays around SA. Plus, book your getaway with one of 10 SA hotels this winter and you'll receive a complimentary bottle of Penfolds Red to warm up your trip. Visit saweekendescapes.com.au to find out more. Holiday here this year.
It's the little things that make a big difference to your day, like a thank you email from a colleague or a smile from a stranger on the train. And it can all start here with a healthy, delicious breakfast made with the goodness of Aussie-made Pura milk. It's got 8 essential nutrients and vitamins to kickstart your morning and set you up for the day ahead. So start your day the positive way with Pura.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
30 minutes to 7. Time to check in with SAPOL. Senior Constable Matt Brown is on duty this morning. Good morning to you, Matt.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good. Sad story yesterday. Fatal crash outside of Clare.
That's right. Emergency services responded to reports of a crash between a ute and a school bus at about 3:40 p.m. yesterday on Blythe Road at Armour. And sadly, the driver of the ute, a 51-year-old Blythe man, died at the scene. And the driver of the bus sustained minor injuries and was taken to the local hospital. No students on the bus sustained any injuries. But Blythe Road was closed to traffic in both directions for several hours while major crash investigators attended the scene. But all roads in the area have since been reopened. And we are asking anyone who may have witnessed the crash to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000 if they may have captured the incident on dashcam footage or similar. But the man's death is the 44th life lost on South Australian roads so far this year. The road toll at the same time last year was 43.
Now, speaking of crashes, Matt, we were talking before about this terrifying Hoon driving video of the motorcyclist doing more than 200 kilometres an hour.
Yes.
Unsurprisingly, ended up coming to grief. He's got permanent brain injuries, huge impact on his own family, and he was filming the whole thing on his motorbike. It's just astonishing.
Yeah, absolutely. As I'm talking to you now, I've got it on repeat on the Facebook page, and I think he nudges about 270, 260, and this is on public roads with people driving around, going home from work or going out to dinner or that sort of thing, and he's blitzing past them at more than 3, 4, 5 times the speed limit. But laws have been introduced now, which means motorists convicted of driving at extreme speed can be jailed for up to 3 years and face a mandatory minimum 2-year licence disqualification for a first offence. and the disqualification period be increased to 5 years for a subsequent offence. And police also have the ability to strip extreme speed offenders of their licence on the spot. So the extreme speed is defined as driving at 55 k's an hour or more above the limit in a zone marked 60 or less, or 80 k's or more above the limit in a zone marked above 60. So, for example, if it was a 40 k zone and a driver was caught doing 100, or an 80 k zone where they were caught at, say, 180, that's what the extreme speed is defined as. And also, certain circumstances, the penalty can be increased to up to 5 years in prison, with mandatory minimum licence disqualification for 5 years, such as if the offence was committed while attempting to escape a police pursuit, where the offending caused death or serious harm in a crash, if the car was stolen, a whole raft of other circumstances. So, as police, we're very pleased that these laws and penalties are being brought in, because it's time to get tough on these hoon drivers.
100%. Good on the police commissioner too, because this all started on our show when he said he had a stuff this for a joke moment. We were talking about a spate of hoon drivers, and he confirmed that he was going to be raising it with the AG. So, who we're going to be talking to shortly. Thanks for that, Matt.
All right, let's talk weather. Vince Rowland's at the Weather Bureau's on the line. Morning, Vince.
Morning, guys.
So, what kind of Wednesday have we got coming up?
Yeah, look, not too bad today. We've still got just a slight chance of some showers around today. There's a little bit on the radar, but most of it is pushing to the north of the city. We're in a bit of a rain shadow by Kangaroo Island, but still a chance we could see the odd one around today, but not too much. And if we do see something, it's not going to produce a great deal. But another cool day today, top of 17 degrees, currently sitting around 13 degrees. Now, tomorrow we will see temperatures just creep up a little bit. We've still got a very slight chance. It won't be too much in that. But as we head towards the weekend, pretty good. So we've got 18 degrees for Friday, 18 for Saturday, Sunday and Monday, and then warms up a touch on Tuesday. But we might see a little bit of cloud creeping in on Tuesday just ahead of another system moving across from the west. So, it's just the odd shower around next couple of days, and then looking pretty good as we head towards the weekend.
Beautiful. Good on you, Vince. Vince Rowland, Senior Forecaster at the Weather Bureau. It's 8 minutes to 7. The Attorney General on those hoon driving laws coming up next.
As a small to medium business owner, you need a vehicle fleet that is fit for purpose. The new Nissan Navara is the ultimate workhorse, built tough to handle the harshest conditions. Packed with the latest intelligent safety and driving assistance tech, the new Nissan Navara is the ideal addition to your fleet. Let your local Nissan fleet dealer tailor a vehicle solution that's right for you and your business needs. Visit your local Nissan dealer or search Nissan Fleet today.
Great business starts when you're in control. With the Optus Business Connect plan, get up to 8 SIMs and up to 300 gig of data, all on one simple plan. Great business starts with yes. Explore the Optus Business Connect plan in-store or online today. T's and C's apply.
Hey, guess what I'm thinking?
Again? I guess we could make it a quickie.
Okay.
Actually, it's such a nice night. We should do it on the deck.
Yeah. For quick and easy new twists to old family favourites, just get some pork on your fork.
If delayed payments are putting a strain on your business's cash flow, don't worry. With Octet Smart Business Financing, you can keep your business's cash flow flowing. Their debtor finance solution gives you access to up to 85% of your unpaid sales invoices within 24 hours and without real estate security. Check out the terms and conditions as well as Octet's facility approval guidelines at octet.com. That's OCTET.com. Power your growing business with Octet.
At Weeks, we believe South Australians deserve a better way to build the home they've always wanted. A way that's fair, open, and completely transparent. Where great design and customer service will always be the focus of everything we do. That's why we're committed to providing a different experience. So discover different today. Visit a display home or check out our full range of home designs at weeks.com.au. Weeks Homes. Discover different.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 to 7, as you just heard with Matt Brown from SAPOL, new laws are being introduced to state parliament. New offence has been created. It's called driving at extreme speed, and it is accompanied by a video that SAPOL have put out up on their Facebook page. You heard Matt reference a guy on a motorbike got up to 270 k's an hour before crashing into the back of what looks like a stationary truck.
That sound you hear is him rear-ending it and then his bike pirouetting. It's worth going to the Tysers website or SAPOL's website to watch the video because it does... How many loops does it do? Probably
it's
30?
Countless. It's spinning like a top.
It looks like a Catherine wheel, that bike, when it goes arse up.
There's not a person listening right now that'll think this is a bad idea. The new laws target people that are going more than 55 k's an hour above the speed limit in zones of 60 or below. So if you're going 95 in a 40... I don't feel like you've made an accident. It also targets people going 80 k's above the speed limit in the zones above 60. So if it's an 80 and you're doing 160, zero sympathy for you.
115 in a 60 zone as well.
115 in a 60 zone.
Yeah.
Go directly to jail. Vicky Chapman is the Attorney General and joins us now on 5AA Breakfast. Attorney General, good morning to you.
Are you there, AG?
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, good that we've got you there, Vicky Chapman. Yeah, how are the parameters worked out for the extent to which hoon drivers are regarded as being hoons? Was that something, because we did speak to the police commissioner about this a couple of months ago, how was that all worked out?
Well, when the police raised this, and bear in mind that I think everyone agrees that hoon driving is not only dangerous to the people who do it, but potentially their passengers and or other people who are, of course, in the way. And so everyone understands that, but the police have had a real spate of these, and let's face it, they and other emergency services have to go and clean up the mess. Witnesses have to see these horrific accidents. So there's a huge expanse of people who are affected by these sorts of situations, and so they were very keen to have a look at it. Obviously, we talked to them about the levels of danger. If you're in a built-up area, you've got a school crossing, you've got children, pedestrians around. Clearly, even in a 60 zone, you're going above the speed limit. It can be very dangerous. In an outlying area where there's minimal traffic, potentially, obviously, animals that could be hit, but less hazards and less likelihood of sort of human toll other than the people in the vehicle.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, so those sorts of things had to be graduated, and of course that. If you're in a zone, in a 110 zone, and you're going 80 kilometres over, that's 190, it's still very dangerous and it's stupid. And so we understand that. The likelihood of sort of carnage other than those in the vehicle, of course, is less. But so that's the sort of thing that was looked at, together with the concept of saying up to 3 years jail, which is the new initiative, making sure that there's on-the-spot mandatory removal of a licence, 2 years. And there are other sort of confiscation sort of elements to these things, like other most traffic sort of offences. But the issue here is to send a sort of sobering message to these people. It goes from a summary road traffic offence to a criminal offence. There are provisions in the criminal law, already in the law, which allow for some consideration if it's in an emergency.
Will the judges apply the full whack sentence, do you think? Or are we going to have people rocking up in court saying that, they had a fraught relationship with their parents when they were young and that's why they felt the need to do 80 k's over and that'll be accepted as some mitigating factor?
Courts will always consider other factors and they can aggravate them up as well, so it can go up to 5 years if they're avoiding police in an arrest situation, for example, or they're driving a stolen vehicle. These are the sorts of factors, a whole list of them in the law which will make it even harder, so the penalties go up. But yes, there will be always a circumstance where the judges will have to consider, and let's face it, if there had been a situation where someone is severely injured themselves or someone who's died, sometimes in those scenarios, then of course that can be factors that can upgrade these things. The footage that you saw, we know that the young man there, his wife and family had given permission for the police to provide that publicly, but he was left with severe brain damage, and the human toll is obvious. There's also a very significant financial toll in providing for the care of people who are severely injured,
Yeah,
whether
totally.
it's for themselves or other people. So this is a lifelong, consequence.
Attorney General, thank you. We really appreciate your time on 5AA Breakfast this morning. It is 7 o'clock, 5AA News Time. The Premier of South Australia is next on the latest out of Victoria.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower 17 today with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Woken with a stiff neck or sore back? Get a Physio Extra appointment today. 6 locations, physioextra.com.
Contact tracers are getting in touch with thousands of footy fans after a positive case of COVID went to the Port Adelaide-Collingwood clash at the MCG. Nine's Christina Hearn reports.
The positive case attended the match on Sunday with a crowd of 23,000 people. They sat in Zone 4 Level 1 of the Great Southern Stand, Punt Road End. Anyone who is seated in the area needs to self-isolate and get tested. QR codes and CCTV are being used to help identify the affected people. This weekend's footy round is in limbo with possible crowd caps as low as 50%. Saturday night's match between West Coast and Essendon in Perth is expected to still go ahead despite the requirement for all Victorians to get tested and self-isolate until they get a negative result when arriving in WA.
These 5AA listeners were at the game.
Luckily at the G, they've got the crowd in sections. Your 4 or 5 bays, you can only walk between those bays. So I couldn't walk into the punt road where the cheer squad was if even I wanted to. There was security guards blocking the way.
We had to sign in QR codes, pretty much the same as in here in Adelaide. The only difference is that we don't have to wear masks going into the stadium or out of the G.
SA's 17th attempt to legalise euthanasia will go before the lower house tonight. The bill would allow terminally ill people to access drugs, allowing them to end their lives. There are concerns that passing the laws could lead to questionable deaths, but advocate Lainey Anderson says there are safeguards in place.
In Oregon, where a very similar model has been in operation since 1997, and there just has not been a slippery slope. I can't see politicians in Australia allowing people under 18 and also anyone who does not have sound mind, who cannot voluntarily make this decision in their own right.
European leaders are describing the arrest of a Belarus opposition journalist as state terrorism. Nine's Carrie-Anne Greenbank has more.
UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called the video of journalist Roman Protasevich, where he admits to causing riots in Belarus, deeply distressing, after Roman's father says he believes his son's been tortured and his nose is broken. The 26-year-old blogger was arrested after his Ryanair flight from Greece to Lithuania was forcibly diverted to Belarus. European airlines could today be seen avoiding Belarusian airspace, and Belarusian planes have been locked out of Europe. More sanctions have also been promised, with demands Belarus release the activist.
There'll be a blood-red supermoon tonight. It's the first total lunar eclipse to be seen across Australia since July 2018. Astronomer Dave Reneke says it will look beautiful.
It's going to be really nice to have a look at for a lot of reasons here, because it's not only that a supermoon, it means it's a lot bigger and brighter, but it's also going to be a blood moon. It's going to be a cherry red colour, nice, beautiful, saucy colour.
The most expensive Australian-made road car has sold for over $1 million. The 1985 Holden Commodore, nicknamed Blue Meanie, belonged to motor racing legend Peter Brock. It's done 77,000 kilometres and only been driven on special occasions. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Adelaide midfielder Matt Crouch is recovering after having surgery on his troublesome groin. The club still hopeful he will play at some stage late in the season. Key defender Daniel Talia remains on the injured list. Head of football Adam Kelly telling the club's website his foot injury is set to keep him out until after the Crows bye in round 14.
Daniel Talia's suggested return date of 3 to 4 weeks hasn't changed since last week, given that Daniel actually had some illness last week which kept him away from training. So that's missed some of that training load that he's going to need before returning to play. So timelines remain at 3 to 4 weeks.
Well, good news for the Gold Coast Suns last night at the AFL Tribunal. Nick Holman had his 2-week suspension overturned for a tackle on Geelong player Mitch Duncan. Holman is now free to play this weekend against Hawthorn. The Adelaide 36ers have suffered an 18-point loss against the New Zealand Breakers overnight. Import Daniel Dillon impressed with 22 points, while Daniel Johnson kept up his strong form with 18 of his own. And at the NBA playoffs, Milwaukee's taken a 2-0 series lead over Miami. Denver, meantime, has squared up its series at 1 apiece against Portland. To soccer, and the Brisbane Roars recorded a 3-0 win against Melbourne City to jump up to 4th on the A-League table. And Australian Sally Fitzgibbons has won the Women's World Surf Tour event at Rottnest Island. Brazilian Gabriel Medina extends his lead in the gold jersey after defeating young Aussie Morgan Chiblich in the men's final. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
A minor collision at Morford Vale on the Southern Expressway, travelling outbound by O'Sullivan Beach Road, and a 2-car collision if you're heading out towards Aldinga at Main South Road near Malpas Road. The cameras will be through the metro areas in Fitzroy Terrace, North Adelaide, Greenhill Road, Hazelwood Park, and Jeffcott Street in North Adelaide as well. Need new tyres fast? Bow from Bow Repairs has you covered. Get fitted in 30 minutes or get a free tyre. Visit bowrepairs.com.au. Selected stores only. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
17 today with a possible shower. Partly cloudy tomorrow, 18. Friday much the same at 18. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 after 7, we'll go round the courts with Sean Fuster after 7:30. Tom Duday from the Adelaide Football Club. Is there contract news in the air? He'll join us after 8 o'clock today. The biggest story, though, kicked off at 6 today. News out of Victoria that the MCG has become something of a virus flashpoint. Stack of South Australians who flew over to watch Port and Collingwood play on Sunday received text messages from Victoria Health saying that they were either Tier 1 or Tier 2 contacts of someone who was a confirmed COVID patient. The key area of concern, people that were sitting in seats located between M1 and M16 on their printed ticket in Zone 4 of Level 1 at the Punt Road end. It's basically the area from just past where the cheer squad sits in one pocket back towards almost centre wing on the other side. Stack of listeners this morning called us, having received the text, they'd either been told to isolate or check for symptoms.
We were with the Port Adelaide cheer squad, so we're isolating today. I mean, we feel fine and everything, so we haven't been called or notified by the QR code yet, but we've had our mates in Victoria that have said to us to isolate.
Me and Anne, my daughter, and her friends, we all went over. So, yeah, we all got notified and we're all home today. Yeah, I was in M3. I was right behind the goals. Yeah, because I turned up with my mask and I was the only person with a mask. So I was a bit shocked that, we didn't go in with a mask or anything. So it was pretty blasé. I don't even think we had to do with the QR code.
So I'm just around an M54, just in the pocket. So I think I've just avoided the hot area.
So you're Tier 3. Your message, it looks like, is just, if you develop symptoms, go get it checked out.
Yes.
Premier of South Australia, Stephen Marshall, joins us on the line now. Premier, what's the latest you're hearing out of Victoria? And what's your direction to South Australians who might have ventured off and gone over to see the game on the weekend?
Yeah, good morning, Will. Good morning, David, and good morning to your listeners. This is concerning, but I do have great faith in the systems around the country now to do this contact tracing. As you can see, people have already been contacted by the Victorian Health Department. They're providing, my understanding is that they're providing us with a list today. That's certainly what we're expecting, and then people will be contacted by SA Health. We've dealt with these types of outbreaks in Australia in recent months very successfully in Queensland and in New South Wales, and I expect it to be the same in Victoria. But yes, we're going to have to abide by these new restrictions that are going to be put in place for people that attended the MCG, as well as the new restrictions put in place last night by the Police Commissioner that anybody coming in from the Greater Melbourne area will need to get themselves tested on day 1, day 5 and day 13.
Premier, we know this story only broke last night, but do you have any sense yet as to exactly how many Port fans are in the frame? Do you know how many South Aussies who travelled over for the game are likely to be affected by this quarantine ruling?
No, look, we don't have that at the moment, but what we're expecting is a list through from Victoria this morning, and that will give us a lot of accurate information. We can cross-check that with those people that have come back into South Australia since that game, and then we'll be contacting them. We don't want to take any chances with this, so Tier 1 and Tier 2 we treat almost exactly the same, so those people will need to isolate for the 14 days and get themselves tested on day 1, day 5 and day 13. But we'll have more clarity on that later this morning.
To your point about the management of the outbreak in Queensland and what we saw on the northern beaches in Sydney, do you feel that as a country and as a state, we are now so much more adept at contact tracing? We've got good uptake of QR codes and we know where people have been. Do you think it's unlikely that we would see any return to the type of hard lockdown that characterised April, May last year?
Look, that's my expectation. I mean, back then it was a very dangerous situation. You were getting hundreds of people infected every single day, even though there was a lockdown situation in Victoria. You saw, I think, almost 800 people lost their lives during that period of time over in Victoria. So we don't want to go back to that, but you're quite right. The systems that we have in place now compared to back then is chalk and cheese. You know, we have really got advanced contact tracing. We've benchmarked ourselves right across the country, so virtually every jurisdiction has similar or comparable systems, and there's great data interchange between those systems. So I expect that we're moving away from the hard lockdown situations that had to be experienced last year just because we didn't have the systems and sophistication in place towards a more nuanced approach. And we've seen that with Queensland, we've seen that with New South Wales, and I'm pretty confident that's what we'll see with Victoria. Now, having said that, we don't want to take undue risks here in South Australia, and that's why the Police Commissioner said last night, look, if you've been into that Whittlesea LGA, and that includes areas like Woollet and Epping and Kinglake, then you can't come into South Australia. So you need to stay in Victoria. In fact, you shouldn't even be leaving your home because that's the arrangement that they have over there in Victoria. Other people who have been in greater Melbourne area, they can come in, but we are asking them to test themselves on day 1, day 5 and day 13. They can still come in, but I think we just need to be careful. And now, of course, this curveball overnight with the people that attended the MCG, and we just don't know the extent of that at this stage. And so, again, we're being pretty cautious.
Premier, just clarify something with you, because based on what the listeners earlier were telling us that had been classified Tier 2 by Victorian Health, the text message they got seemed to indicate that they were required to isolate until they'd received a negative test. It sounds like you're saying in South Australia we treat Tier 2 and 1 the same, and the recommendation is 14 days isolation with three tests that you require over that period. Will they receive additional advice from SA Health following what they got from Victoria Health to clarify the difference?
Correct, because look, Victoria Health don't know whether they're in Victoria or South Australia.
Yeah.
People filled in that QR code sort of registration form when they went in, and they just received what they would receive in Victoria. It's very hard at distance for us to be able to determine between Tier 1 and Tier 2, and so historically what we've done is put them in together, which is an added restriction on those people who might have, been at a lower level chance of coming into contact. But we have seen this occur. We've seen, people declared by other states as a casual contact, but actually they've actually contracted the disease. This is really contagious, this disease, and until we find out more about this particular person that was at the MCG and how contagious they were, then we just really don't want to take any chances. The last thing we want is an outbreak here in South Australia, so we are being very cautious.
So South Australians will it be a text or a call that we're at the game from SA Health?
Look, I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
I've spoken with Nicholas Berry first thing this morning, and she said that they will be contacted by SA Health. I didn't ask that question whether it would be by text or a call from SA Health, but I can follow that up and get back to you.
Good stuff. Premier Stephen Marshall, thanks very much for joining us this morning on 5AA.
14 after 7. That's important information. So
Yeah.
the requirement is different to what the text you receive. If you're in those bays M1 to M16.
So it sounds like it's likely that regardless of whether you're Tier 1, Tier 2, it sounds like you are looking at 2 weeks of self-isolation.
If you're in those bays, but from what we've gleaned from our listeners who called earlier that we just heard from, they were all Tier 2. Reese, who called us, who lives in Canberra, he was sitting outside those bays but received a text saying he was Tier 3.
Yeah.
So it sounds as though...
And Tier 3 only means just watch for symptoms.
That's watch for symptoms. In Victoria.
Yes. Yes.
So it sounds like everyone in the Port Cheer squad is going to have to isolate for 2 weeks.
It does.
15 minutes after 7. Let's check traffic thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Save up to $400 on selected Miller cooking appliances. Let's do Dave Potter Honda. Sorry, get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda. We love Miller too.
A minor collision at the Southern Expressway near O'Sullivan Beach Road, travelling outbound at Morphettvale. And if you're heading towards Aldinga, Main South Road near Malpas Road has a 2-car smash as well. Cameras in the metro areas at Melbourne Street, North Adelaide and South Terrace in the city. Win free hair for a year. Simply spend $50 or more in store for a chance to win one of 10 $3,500 prize packs. Hurry, ends May 30, only at Price Attack, Adelaide's most accurate traffic on FIVEaa.
Leon Biner.
Let's talk to Marty. Hi, Marty.
Community land trusts. I picked up a book in the library by a lady called Jess Scully. And in the book, she talks about your home is an asset and an investment, but it is not a speculative investment.
9 till 12 weekdays.
Apparently, it's got great guns because of the very reasons that you're talking about. And as soon as I was reading it, I thought of you, and I thought, I've got to give that guy a ring.
As SA as Leon Biner. As SA as AA.
The Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery is giving 7 lucky ticket holders the chance to drive away in a brand new Audi just for getting in early. Plus, your tickets stay in the draw for a fully furnished Scott Salisbury home on the Esplanade at South Brighton that comes with $1 million cash. With over 15,000 prizes, your chances of winning a prize are 1 in 15. Get your tickets by midnight Friday at homelottery.com.au. Proceeds improve the lives of every South Australian. Licence M13989.
Your major client is dragging the chain on payment, but your supplier, they want to be paid now. Well, with Octet Smart Business Financing, you can. Octet can give you a convenient and flexible line of credit to pay your suppliers with up to 60 days interest-free and up to 120 days to repay. Check out the terms and conditions as well as Octet's facility approval guidelines at octet.com. That's OCTET.com. Power your growing business with Octet.
Look around your house and yard. If you see old tools, broken bike frames, an old fridge and even that old car, don't look at it as junk, look at it as dollar signs. At Knorr Metals, our priority is to give you the best value for your scrap metal disposal. We offer cash for scrap Monday to Friday and Saturday mornings for a range of different steel supplies and car components, including bodies and radiators. Get cash for your scrap at Knorr Metals, 255 Grand Junction Road, Ottaway.
A great Australian rail journey is beyond magical, it's beyond exciting and it's beyond memorable. A journey by rail is, well, it's beyond words. The 2022 season is available now with Journey Beyond and Phil Hoffman Travel for iconic rail journeys aboard the GAN, Indian Pacific and Great Southern. Generous packages start from $1,665 per person twin share. Contact Phil Hoffman Travel, proudly South Australian and here for you. Visit pht.com.au.
Montine, Montine, everybody's talking about Montine.
And everybody's talking about the 3 massive vehicle brands at 2 impressive locations. Take a test drive today. Kia, Hyundai and Ford. Hi, Miles Fitzner here. Dealer principals James and Adrian ensure you receive a family-orientated experience. With over 200 vehicles for immediate delivery and awesome deals, everybody's talking about Montine. 2 impressive locations, Cheltenham and Mount Barker. So remember,
Everybody's talking about Montine.
MBD 182170.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide. At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
19 minutes after 7. If you're watching along on the 5AA Facebook or YouTube live stream, you might note we've attempted to break the record for a number of people in our radio studio this morning. Certainly we've broken it for people crowding around just 2 microphones to perform Pink Floyd, I suspect. Because here in South Australia we're going to be home to what is a world premiere, Eclipse Pink Floyd orchestrated on the 17th of July this year at the Adelaide Festival Theatre. Now, we're joined in the studio by Carl, Mick, Ian, Diane, Natalie, Emily and Warwick, who is the nominated speaker. Good morning to you, Warwick, and good morning to everybody.
Hopefully we're not going to be tested on the names at the end of this segment. This, as Will says, is a record. Now, I've got to say, I'm a total Pink Floyd nut. I used to put myself to bed every night when I was at high school by listening to Dark Side of the Moon. The set list you guys have got for this show is sensational, but tell us a bit about the idea of doing it with an orchestra as well, because that's pretty unique, isn't it?
Yeah, look, what we've decided to do this time is to take those string parts, the horn parts and the wind parts that Rick Wright was playing on synth, and translate those sound, rather than on synthesizer, directly to an orchestra. So they're playing all of those, if you can imagine the beginning of Shine On You Crazy Diamond with that wonderful big chord, all played with orchestra. So orchestra is live and it's a sensational big sound.
So you're called the Eclipse Band. Are you guys Adelaide based or are you interstate or what's the go? How does it all come about?
Yeah, everybody here is from Adelaide.
Yeah, right.
And so is the orchestra. So
yeah,
sensational. This is a really good opportunity for people within the music industry to be employed, to be able to get things back on the road after a break for a while.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the orchestra as well as the crew and the techs and everybody else. So it's a wonderful thing to see so many South Australians on stage.
And in terms of like Floyd's music, I know that Adelaide has actually probably punched above its weight with a lot of these cover bands and tribute bands that are linked back to some of the great bands of the 70s, thinking of groups like the Zep Boys, for example. Have you done Floyd stuff before, or is this something where you've thought, look, Floyd's whole canon of work is remarkable, let's just get together now and do it?
The core of this band first performed with the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra going back about 15 years ago.
Yeah, right.
So we have performed here, performed in Brisbane, performed in New Zealand, but this is the first time that this show has been done in this way with orchestra, yes.
Now, Warwick, I overheard, I was talking to our producer during the break a moment ago, but David was negotiating that you might play a track that would take us to 9 o'clock. Was that right?
Yeah. Look, if we start playing, I guess... Dogs from Animals, it could take us through to a
maybe all 4 sides of Ummagumma. That'd be good. Yeah.
Have you got something maybe a little bit shorter that we could do?
Look, we've just got a little bit of Dark Side of the Moon, something that might take us into the theme of this evening's lunar lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Of course it is. Lunar eclipse tonight. You can see it at 8, just after 8 o'clock.
Sensational.
Oh, that was fantastic.
What about that?
We need you guys in every morning to play us to breaks and stuff. That'd be tremendous.
Now, I'm going to read out some of the tracks that you're doing. Dark Side of the Moon, which we just heard then. Breathe, which is also on Dark Side, isn't it?
Yep.
Then Time, again, Money. So pretty much, and Great Gig in the Sky. So the vocalist who's doing that is
Diane.
That we were just saying off air. That is one of the hardest bits of of vocal work in showbiz. So good luck doing that.
Di does a sensational job of it. It's absolutely remarkable.
Us and Them, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, Wish You Were Here, Have a Cigar, Comfortably Numb, Another Brick in the Wall, Hey You, and Learning to Fly. So, you know, one hell of a back catalogue to pick from.
Yeah, well, we're scanning those albums from Dark Side of the Moon through to Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Yeah.
And we've really selected those songs that lend themselves best to the orchestra. So we've got the live orchestra on stage. We've got a 10-piece band, and we've also got the Saps Choir coming in as well for the song that we all know about education.
Yeah.
So,
fantastic.
So it's going to be a great, packed night.
Adelaide Festival Theatre, 17th of June, later
17th
this year.
of July.
God, I'm going well, aren't I? 17th of July. One job.
You had one job, Will?
One job. You can get tickets from Bass. I got that one right, haven't I? Bass.
Yes, it's bass.net.au.
Yes, good. I'm going to quit while I'm well behind. Thanks for coming in, guys. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks, guys.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift.
When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability, get world-leading safety, and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage for sales, service, and hire.
Get a Toyota forklift.
How do you know if the milk you're buying is local? Easy. Just look for 3 words. Flurio Milk Company. If the bottle you pick up has those 3 words on it, Flurio Milk Company, it's guaranteed to be local. It's guaranteed to be fresh too. And the big plus, you're supporting SA dairy farmers, and for that, we're forever grateful. 3 words. Flurio Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it.
I'm Lindy Morrison, former drummer of the Go-Betweens. And if you're like me and driving less these days, APIA's comprehensive car insurance rewards you with a drive less, pay less discount on your premiums.
Call APIA on 13 50 50 for a quote today. APIA. Get set, go. APIA is an authorised representative of AAI Limited, the product issuer. Most optional covers are not discounted. Limits, exclusions and conditions apply. Before buying this insurance, read the PDS. Contact us for a copy.
For most business PC brands, a 4-hour service guarantee means they'll call you back in 4 hours. But at Leader Computers, a 4-hour service guarantee on Leader's business range means they'll come to your worksite and have you back in business inside 4 hours. Leader Computers are local, made here in Adelaide with better service, better support and speedy turnaround times. Live life local. Live life Leader. Leader Computers. Find your local dealer at leadersystems.com.au.
Dad and I are sleeping in the car again. Since he lost this job and couldn't pay the rent, we've had to keep moving around to find a place to sleep. Sometimes it's a car, sometimes a couch. I'm really tired, but my hands and feet are so cold I can't get to sleep. I just want my own bed.
You can help rescue a child from homelessness. Donate to Vinnie's today at vinnies.org.au.
Know what's kick-ass? Getting out there and exploring the great outdoors. And the right gear can make it really kick-ass. For quality four-wheel drive and camping gear, use kick-ass products. Available only at australiandirect.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
27 after 7. We've just got a follow-up from the Premier's office following the interview. SA Health will be contacting those who are at the MCG by text when they get more info from Victorian authorities this morning. And just to repeat, significant news if you're a Port fan, I suspect if you're sitting between bays M1 and M16, which includes the Port cheer squad, it means you aren't going to the footy this weekend. You've got to isolate for 2 weeks. SA Health's advice is different to Victoria's advice when it comes to how you should act as a Tier 2 contact of someone who was COVID positive. So
4 o'clock Sunday's the game, Port v FIVEaa. Be a very different feel.
Certainly will be.
Yeah.
28 minutes after 7. The other big COVID-related question in the world of sport at the moment is about the Tokyo Olympics. At the moment, Tokyo is a level 4 do not travel advisory. The Olympics start in under 60 days. Last night on the sports show...
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No way.
Last night at the sports show, Rowie spoke with Tracy Holmes from the Ticket podcast about whether the games will still go ahead. Used vehicle stock always changing at North Point Toyota Hillcrest, Prospect and Port Augusta. It is the North Point way.
Tracy, you're all over the Olympics. It appears the IOC are the only ones who think or want the Olympics to continue. Tokyo residents, 80% don't want it. Even politicians are saying we can't afford to do it. Do you think it will honestly go ahead?
Look, I do, because you've got these two strains working against each other. You've got the IOC that is absolutely adamant, And they're relying on what they know from their history. They also live in a bit of an Olympic bubble, and, you know, the Olympics is bigger and better than anything, and it inspires the world and it motivates youth, and we know all of those stories. And many of them are true. We can relate to that. When the Australians do well, we love it. So they've got that aspect. And they also look back through time and they say, you know, aside from world wars, nothing has ever stopped the Olympics. And so the pandemic, even though it's global, in their mind is not enough to stop the show from going ahead.
I struggle to understand how the US can say to its citizens, and they have been pretty lax when it comes to borders, this is one place you can't go to, but the Olympics is going to happen there.
Yeah. I think the thing that might kill it is the Japanese people.
They're
The
not
opinion
happy.
polls, it's like 80% vehemently against, you know, strongly disagree. Like, you know, Category 5 is the one that 4 out of 5 Japanese people tick when the news poll pundits turned up on their verandas. For the Japanese government, it's a big call.
A lot of money's been spent. When I was over there at the start of last year, end of the year before actually maybe, the you could see all the infrastructure was in place. The stadium in Tokyo looked spectacular, and you know they repaved streets. Yeah, when you're doing the Olympic Games, you change intersections. There's all these other bridges and walkways and things that get constructed and built. There's a whole lot of stuff there that's been put in place. A lot of money's been spent. That said, if the people don't want it, the only people who want it are the athletes, I think.
Yeah. But what motivates governments? Being turfed out.
Yep.
You know, I think that's a huge unexplored aspect of this whole story. That if it's clear to the government that they're signing their own political death warrant by hosting the games, that's going to weigh on their thinking quite heavily.
Yeah, we're going to go around the court. Sean Fuster's in the building. He'll be up next.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower 17 today with the 7:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust Physio Extra. Norwood, Pirie Street, Marion, Hallicove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. PhysioExtra.com.
Health officials are scrambling to track down thousands of footy fans who went to the Port Collingwood game at the MCG on Sunday. It's after a person tested positive to COVID. Fans seated in Zone 4, Level 1 of the Great Southern Stand are at risk. Premier Stephen Marshall has told 5AA Breakfast it's unclear how many Port fans have been impacted.
What we're expecting is a list through from Victoria this morning, and that will give us a lot of accurate information. We can cross-check that with those people that have come back into South Australia since that game, and then we'll be contacting them. We don't want to take any chances with this.
The new COVID cluster across the border stands at 9. Restrictions have been imposed in Greater Melbourne to help deal with the situation. Health Minister Greg Hunt says Victoria has improved its systems since the early days of the pandemic.
I think their contact tracing is much stronger, their testing is stronger, and their actions have been earlier. So I think I should provide support where it's due, and it is appropriately due.
A teenager has been struck by a car at Thorngate. It happened around 8:40 last night. The victim has sustained serious but not life-threatening injuries. The female driver was not hurt. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the collision. Drivers could face jail for excessive speeding under tough new laws being introduced to State Parliament today. Convicted drivers would be jailed for up to 3 years. Police would also have the ability to strip licences on the spot. Attorney General Vicky Chapman says the proposed penalties recognise the risk dangerous drivers pose to the community.
Some people always do stupid things. We want them to understand that this is a really dangerous situation for others as well. Their whole life can be ruined. They could kill a girlfriend, hurt a mate, they could have their leg chopped off. There's just so many people who are hurt.
US President Joe Biden will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin for the first time in person next month. The summit in Geneva comes amid escalating tensions between the two countries in the first few months of the Biden administration. Leading fashion experts will join the federal government to discuss the issue of waste in the clothing industry. A national roundtable is being held in Canberra to tackle fast fashion. Environment Minister Susan Lee says tons of plastic waste from discarded clothing is polluting the environment.
It's made of petrochemicals, it harms the environment, and sustainable fashion and solving our clothing textile waste is on the agenda.
Soap operas dominate the nominations for the upcoming Daytime Emmy Awards. General Hospital, The Young and the Restless, Days of Our Lives and The Bold and the Beautiful lead the way with the most nods. Ellen DeGeneres has been recognised for her talk show, and there are posthumous nods for Larry King and Alex Trebek. The winners will be announced next month. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. As we've heard with your news, Mel, the latest COVID cluster is causing chaos for the AFL ahead of round 11. Essendon will now depart for Perth this morning ahead of Saturday's match against West Coast. That's because it will give them enough time to get tested and return a negative COVID-19 result, as required by current border measures. At this stage, the Crows will play against Richmond at the MCG on Sunday. Meantime, it was a busy night at the AFL Tribunal, sitting for almost 5 hours as decisions were made on 3 separate cases. Gold Coast forward Nick Holman successfully overturned his 2-match ban for a rough tackle on Geelong midfielder Mitch Duncan. But Richmond's Mun Pickett and Carlton's Lockie Plowman both failed to have their suspensions overturned. To basketball, the Adelaide 36ers have gone down by 18 points to the New Zealand Breakers in the NBL overnight. The Sixers remain in 7th place. Former Fremantle docker Max Duffy says it didn't take him long to get stuck into his work with his new teammates at the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I had my first practice session with the team, which was awesome. Kind of came in and had to get straight into it. So signed the contract in the morning and then get straight into practice.
Now, Duffy was picked up as a rookie by the 2015 Super Bowl champions yesterday after being overlooked in this year's NFL draft. The 28-year-old put together a stellar college career with Kentucky as a punter, which put the West Aussie on the map. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
A smash at the Southern Expressway near the Young Street Bridge in Trop Park causing heavy city-bound delays back from Flax Mill Road, so best to leave earlier coming in from the southern suburbs. There is one too on the expressway near O'Sullivan Beach Road. That's outbound and relatively minor. Main South Road near Malpas Road or Dinga, a 2-car collision. And in Norwood, Kensington Road between the Britt Roundabout and Osmond Terrace. Speeds at 40 k's both ways for works there, so that'll slow you down too. At Amazon.com.au, new customers enjoy free delivery on their first eligible order. T's and C's apply. Shop Amazon.com.au, Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
A possible shower for your Wednesday, 17. Partly cloudy tomorrow, 18. 18 again on Friday. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Then I saw her face.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Victoria Health don't know whether they're in Victoria or South Australia.
Yeah.
People filled in that QR code sort of registration form when they went in, and they just received what they would receive in Victoria. It's very hard at distance for us to be able to determine between Tier 1 and Tier 2, and so historically what we've done is put them in together, which is an added restriction on those people who might have, been at a lower level chance of coming into contact. But we have seen this occur. We've seen, people declared by other states as a casual contact, but actually they've actually contracted the disease.
It's an important distinction to come out of our interview with the Premier about 20 minutes ago, which means that if you're a Port fan that travelled over to see Port and Collingwood at the MCG and sat between bays M1 and M16 at ground level, starting on the punt road end, it goes from one back pocket around to the almost centre wing on the opposite side of the ground, you have to isolate for 2 weeks and get tested 3 times over that period. That is different to what you'll get told on the text you get from Victoria Health, the Premier confirming with us that you'll get texts from SA Health a little bit later this morning with the updated advice.
We just got a couple of great texts as well on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line simultaneously. One from Michelle and one from Steve asking what are the instructions for other people who were on the flights back from Melbourne Sunday night with people who had been at the football. Will they have to isolate as well?
No.
They won't.
I don't believe so. That's not how it's worked in the past. I know people will naturally say, well, hang on, what about the people they've knocked around with? But that's not how, to my understanding, that's not how contract tracing has worked in the past.
So it's the people who are sitting directly next to the active, confirmed sick person.
Yep. And if any of those that got on a plane end up having it, then the people on the plane will be contacted. That's typically the way it's worked.
Right. So you've got to be next to the person who's got the virus.
Yep.
Right.
You can't be next to a person who might have been next to a person who got the virus. That puts you at tier 3. That's a bit like, a good example of this is Reese, who called us earlier. He was sitting in one of the other bays.
Yeah, right.
Now, he's tier 3. He just needs to watch for symptoms. So, I look, and someone from SA Health will correct us if I'm wrong about that. It's my understanding at this point how contact tracing has worked.
Yeah, yeah.
21 minutes to 8. Let's talk courts. Sean Fuster is in the building. Had a big story on the front page of the Tizey the other day. A disappointing one because, Sean, it sounds like all the positive processes we thought were being implemented to speed up the courts have failed miserably.
Yeah, it's really disheartening to think that 5 years ago we were looking at a 12-month wait for a trial from the moment that you enter your not guilty plea in the Adelaide Magistrates Court through to the day you sit trial in the District Court, 12 months. So if you're on home detention bail, if you're on normal bail, if you're on remand, it's a long time to wait to actually get before a judge. The Labor government, former Labor government, the current Liberal government, lawyers, judges, everybody have thrown in trying to fix this 12-month problem. And after 5 years of reforms, the wait time for a trial is, drum roll please, 12 months. Incredibly disheartening
So how
given
is
the
that
amount
possible?
of effort. Look, I wish I had an answer for you. It's interesting because at the same time as I was writing the article, the editor said to me, would you write an editorial sort of, exploring this? And as I'm writing it and as I'm listing everything that's been attempted, the good ideas, the bad ideas, the quickly thrown together ideas, the ideas that were cribbed from other states and then not funded to the level that other states did, I sort of went through this list and I was building to a conclusion as I was writing this editorial, and I suddenly realised my conclusion was, well, what do you do? It really does feel like everything's been tried. So I found myself with an unexpected level of sympathy for everybody involved in the system because nobody wants to sit on bail, on remand, in custody for 12 months. Nobody wants that. Victims don't want that. They don't want to be sitting there waiting for 12 months for justice to be done. Families of victims certainly don't want to be sitting there. We've seen in Just Lawful the absolute deleterious effect of waiting for a trial and what it can do to someone's mental health. We don't want that happening time and time again.
Well, surely it means...
Yet I'm out of ideas how to fix it.
There's two things that result from this. One is you get the situation where when someone's actually sentenced, sometimes it's like, well, they're going to be out in 3 months. It's like, well, yeah, but they have actually been in jail for a year and a half.
And that's the other problem.
But then also, there would have to be people who are accused of something and then found not guilty.
Or the charges are dropped.
So they have that hanging over their head for a year, or in the more serious cases, they might even be in jail awaiting trial.
Spending a year in the Adelaide Remand Centre.
Do you get any compo for that?
None at all. None at all. The system can't work that way because the whole idea is that you have been accused of something and that accusation has to be tested to the fullest extent of the law.
Even if you're found not guilty?
Even if you're found not guilty. So there's so many problems that come from this delay, which is why all the legal minds, all the political minds are trying to work out a solution. We've had former Justice Brian Martin give his tuppence on it. He's made some recommendations. Now we've got former Judge Gordon Barrett going around speaking to all the stakeholders saying, look, what can we do? So we're having a review of a review, which sounds on the face of it to be absolutely reductive. Why are we reviewing one judge with another judge? But maybe we need every opinion we can possibly get to try to fix this.
So is there any evidence in that then suggests that in the absence of those changes, the length would even be greater than a year? I mean, have they prevented it blowing out further?
Well, here's the thing. I remember when we got to a 12-month wait, that was ballyhooed as a massive success because for the decade prior, it was sort of a 2-year to 2.5-year wait. We got it down to 12 months. Woohoo, break out the champagne. But then it stalled at 12 months, which is still bad enough. When you look at something like we've got the Diezio murder trial coming up, the 8 alleged bikies accused of murdering innocent man Jason Diezio in an ambush. That's going to be a 6-month trial at least that's going to take up 2 courtrooms. One for all of the accused and one for all the public that wants to see it. So there's 2 courtrooms and 57 lawyers taken out of circulation for 6 months. They're already saying that's going to create a potential another 6-month lag because of the size of that mega trial.
Now, Sean, when Matt Abraham's in at this time tomorrow, what he does is he rates the spin. We could almost do a rate the excuse segment with you.
This is a cracker.
I think we just get ourselves into trouble. So we might park the idea for a moment, but if we had it, it may get a good run during this next story you've got for us.
Look, I've heard a lot of really interesting attempts to forestall a jail term or at least get a home detention sentence, but this one's a winner. Mark Baker, newly retired member of the Descendants motorcycle gang, was up for sentencing.
Do you get a gold watch when you retire?
I don't know about a watch. Gold rims?
Something.
He was up for sentencing for being caught in possession of 3 illegal firearms and 1,000 bullets, just after he'd lawfully gotten rid of 35 guns. So yeah, he had a fair stack. He got rid of 35 lawfully, still had these 3 plus all the bullets. The police bust him. He goes to court for it. He cops to it and he says, "But Your Honour, I've got this report here from my forensic psychologist who's quoting some American research which says that people who have type 2 diabetes, like myself, might have diminished responsibility when it comes to things like this. So it wasn't really my fault that I forgot the 3 guns and the 1,000 bullets were there. It was the diabetes."
Well, yeah, but
anybody else seen that guy in Cocoon? Diabetes.
The fact that he got rid of all the other guns, though, that might help him, though, mightn't it? Because he might say, "Look, I was just forgetful. I didn't realise I had, a cache of small weapons hidden in the back room."
Well, new Judge Patrick O'Sullivan, who is rapidly becoming a favourite of this segment, turned around and said, "If you can get rid of 35 guns lawfully, you can get rid of 3 more lawfully. I don't accept that at all. I don't accept that at all." And look, I'm going to say this. Funny as the whole thing is, it's actually a positive. If we're at the point now where people are having to trot out American psychobabble about diabetes in order to try to forestall jail terms, might indicate that our gun laws and our gun sentencing are actually pretty good right now.
True. Yeah.
If that's your absolute last-ditch, last-gasp attempt to try to get out of jail, we're doing all right.
Absolutely.
Good stuff, Sean.
Good to have you in, Sean.
Thanks mate.
Sean Fuster from The Advertiser. We go around the courts with each and every Wednesday morning here in Just Lawful on Sunday nights. It's 15 to 8. Michael Smith from 7 News shortly as we flash back. But first, let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
A smash in the Parklands Fullerton Road near Green Hill Road causing some issues around there, and on the Southern Expressway near Young Street Bridge, city-bound delays back from Flaxmill Road due to a collision at Trott Park. There's also one on the expressway heading outbound near O'Sullivan Beach Road, but that's relative.
To drive away in a brand new Audi just for getting in early. Plus, your tickets stay in the draw for a fully furnished Scott Salisbury home on the Esplanade at South Brighton that comes with $1 million cash. With over 15,000 prizes, your chances of winning a prize are 1 in 15. Get your tickets by midnight Friday at homelottery.com.au. Proceeds improve the lives of every South Australian. Licence M13989.
Nothing beats that new car experience, and you'll still be feeling it long after you drive away in a new Kluger 7-seat hybrid SUV from Jarvis Toyota. With all-wheel drive hybrid power and intelligent safety technology, the Kluger is where freedom meets family. The buzz around the new Kluger is huge, so register your interest at Jarvis Toyota, Clovelly Park today. Rediscover the road in the all-new Toyota Kluger Hybrid at Jarvis Toyota, South Road, Clovelly Park, proudly celebrating 20 years of great deals.
Here we go. Westside Energy, a local, well-established and trusted supplier of solar and home batteries. Do they have an incredible offer for 5AA listeners, Will?
Do they?
Do they?
When you purchase any premium range solar system or home battery, Westside Energy will take care of your last quarter's electricity bill. That's right. Westside Energy will pay your last power bill for you.
Ka-ching.
Take it out of the folder. It is no more.
Tear it up. You don't need to pay it. It's a strictly limited offer. Some terms and conditions apply. There's already many wonderful benefits from going solar and having home battery storage. Well, here's one more from Westside Energy. Buy any of their premium range solar systems or home batteries, and Westside Energy will pay your last quarter's electricity bill. Terms and conditions apply.
For more information, jump onto their website. Visit westsideenergy.com.au. That's westsideenergy.com.au.
You know, the team at Adelaide Tools has been looking after local tradies for over 70 years, and they're taking that service to the next level with their massive new superstore now open in Parafield. You'll find a huge range of trade quality brands on display, and their experienced team really know their stuff. They do more than just stock the right tools, they service them as well. Get into Adelaide Tools at Mile End, Parafield, St Mary's, Lonsdale and Gawler, and check out their huge new superstore in Parafield. Adelaide Tools, trusted brands, trusted service since 1949.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube.
Down on the corner, out
And Bob Jane T-Mart's buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
11 minutes to 8. Let's talk weather. Amelia Mulcahy from 7 News joins us. Morning to you, Amelia.
Good morning, guys. Lovely morning after a bit of rain, very welcome rain yesterday. We had around 15 millimetres in the city, and boy, was it fantastic. The garden's looking great. We know how many people are counting on this rain, so quite nice. There is a slight chance of a shower around today. Not looking as likely as it was yesterday. There's the odd spot sort of on the radar at the moment. But with a bit of cloud around and these onshore winds pushing cloud across, it won't be clear tonight for the super blood moon, which is happening. Now, this is kind of a rare event if you're into stargazing. It's got 2 events. So it's got a super moon and then a total lunar eclipse as well. So that's when the moon turns red, hence the name super blood moon. So the best time to see it in Adelaide is between 8:30 till roughly 9 o'clock. But it won't be clear. But, you've got to be in it to win these things.
Yeah,
so
right.
It'd pay to still look outside if you're into that.
Did you see it this morning, Amelia? Looked amazing.
It's quite big, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, because supermoon is when it's at its closest point to Earth, and it's just bigger than your usual full moon.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's honestly, I'd love to see the red though. That's the fascinating part with this. So, we've got to be in it to win it. 7:14 is when the partial starts. So, you've got some time, but really the peak time is 8:30 till 9. Then we're drying out this week, tops of 18 degrees as we head into the weekend. Sunny over the weekend as well, up to 18, and it's looking fine early next week as well, but it looks like we could maybe see something sort of around the middle of next week. There's a system moving over from the west, and we'll just have to keep an eye on that one to see how much it brings. At this stage, it doesn't look like it'll be as strong as what we saw yesterday. That was kind of the first strongest front we've really seen so far this year, so it doesn't look like it'll be like that, but hey, fingers crossed we keep that rain coming.
Good stuff. What's the best thing about working with Michael Smith, Amelia?
Oh, he's very funny.
Is he?
Very quick.
He is very
yeah.
funny. All right. He'll be happy to hear that because he's on the line. We're flashing back in just a moment. Go on you, Amelia. Amelia Mulcahy from 7 News. He is on the line. Michael, good morning to you.
That took a long time for Amelia to come up with something, didn't it?
I don't know. I think it was no warning.
We gave it 2 days' notice as well. That's
Thank
not
you very
true,
much.
mate.
Good night. Enjoy the veal.
I could not agree with her more. I think you're extremely funny.
She's a delight to work with too. Just sending the favours back her way. Now we have a sizzling and stunt-filled edition of Flashback for you today. We're remembering those kids from the western suburbs who set the world on fire and very occasionally themselves. We're looking back at the heyday of the Findon Skid Kids. Did you ever see them in action?
Yes, I did when I was a little tacker. They're sensational.
They often would appear at the Royal Show before the fireworks. But really toured the nation. They were best known probably for their fire jump, where you'd have 4 riders literally crashing through a wall of flames. One of their other big stunts was called the Pyramid, where they had up to 26 riders sort of all linked together and hanging off each other, riding around parade grounds, down the street, those sort of things. The Skid Kids have got a really fascinating story. They were started in 1958 by a young 15-year-old called Mick Harley, who'd had trouble getting into the Ferryden Park Cycle Speedway. So he approached the Woodville Council and said, I want to set up my own. Not bad temerity at 15. Found an area that had been used for gravel storage down at Findon, managed to convince the Woodville Council to level the area and turn it into a cycle speedway. It's still there, more than 60 years on. Sadly, Mick died last year, but it's now being run by his daughter, Tammy Clark. She used to ride with the trick team and tour the country. Have a listen to how much fun it was.
We used to have displays every weekend. We'd go to country fairs. We'd been on a ship in Sydney. We'd been to the Royal Show every year. I remember growing up and loving it, just before the fireworks. And we're all in our satin shirts and doing our best. The fire jump would set everything off. It was brilliant.
Long sleeved satin shirts with very much their uniform. They went to the Royal Easter Show in Sydney a couple of times, performing before tens of thousands of people. A great South Australian success story. And Mick once said that had it not been for the Skid Kids, he reckons a lot of the kids may well have ended up in jail. It really sort of instilled a sense of regimentation and discipline into their lives.
Yeah, totally. No, it's excellent. And it's great that it's still going all these years later. Excellent stuff, Mike. We love flashing back with you. We'll do it again next week. Michael Smith from Channel 7. Very funny guy.
Well done. 6 minutes to 8. We're going to have a little bit of John Blake right after this.
Whether you're a sparky, a chippy, a fiery or a bikey, whether they call you curly, tubby or tiny, whether next door means a few feet or a few miles, we know the weather's harsh in South Australia. But Olympic Industries carports, verandas and sheds are tougher than most. And if they're strong enough in the country, they'll be strong enough in the city. For a limited time, you can save heaps across the entire range. Olympic Industries end of financial year sale. Built to last.
The Fast Movers program recognises South Australia's fastest growing, most innovative and arguably smartest small to medium enterprises.
We are happy to announce that out of 25 finalists, the winners for 2021 have been announced. Congratulations to Foxy Games on first place, ODD Games on second place, and Solutions Plus coming in at third place.
These companies were recognised by the South Australian business community at a recent celebration breakfast at Adelaide Oval.
That's right. We'd also like to congratulate Advance Clinical, who won the Excellence in Business Award, and Little Bang Brewing Company on winning the Fastest Employment Growth Award.
Yeah, well done to everyone involved. For the full list of finalists, you just need to head to fastmoversa.com.au. That's fastmoversa.com.au.
Decided you need to get behind the wheel of a new Mazda? You don't have to wait for end of financial year sales. Mawson Lakes Mazda has amazing deals across the entire range of new Mazdas right now. With up to 300 cars on site, you're sure to find the model and colours you're dreaming of. Or drive away in a low-kilometre demo before the crush of end of financial year sales. Don't wait months. Get into Mawson Lakes Mazda now. Just a short drive from the city.
Bad news. Your electricity bill is about to come in. But here's some good news from Westside Energy. They'll pay it for you. When you purchase any premium range solar system or home battery from Westside Energy, they'll take care of your last quarter's electricity bill. That's right, Westside Energy will pay for your last power bill. It's a strictly limited offer and some terms and conditions apply. For more information, visit westsideenergy.com.au. I feel better already.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
3 minutes to 8. Stay listening for Breaking at 8. We've been working the phones with regard to what the Melbourne situation is going to mean for returning travellers and people that have attended events in Victoria. It is a confusing picture, and we'll let you in on what we've discovered in Breaking at 8. But first, it's time for John Blake. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight, distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
And now, here's a Hoon driver with another tip for real happiness.
If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, here's a Hoon driver with some advice. After he's told you of the wisdom he's found, he's going to make his car spin round and round.
G'day, I'm a Hoon burnout gender reveal driver with another tip for real happiness. If you want to be really happy, do a burnout gender reveal. But be careful, because the police are really cracking down on people like me. It won't be long before we won't be allowed to do a gender reveal at all. Couples love having the sex of their expected baby revealed by a moron spinning around in a car with smoke coming out and at the same time endangering spectators who stand around cheering. Police are also targeting Hoon burnout gender reveal drivers for being discriminatory. They say that the practice of spewing out blue smoke for boys and pink smoke for girls is wrong because it assumes that girls don't like blue and boys don't like pink, and they want us to be more inclusive. So next time I do a burnout gender reveal, I'm going to have to think of a way of expelling smoke in a rainbow. Or at least non-binary smoke, whatever that is.
If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, that's a Hoon driver with some advice. If you now see him when he's doing a whirl, it might be hard to tell if it's a boy or a girl.
90 seconds away from 8 o'clock. Tom Douday coming up after 8. The Crows have tweeted out a fairly cryptic little message about some sort of... They've put the looky eyes emoji, which usually means there's some kind of announcement coming up. And there's been a bit of rumour about our Tom in the media this week.
Well, look, Let's do breaking at 7:58. The Adelaide Crows wouldn't be tweeting about Tom Duday's
Well,
future at the club.
They didn't overtly reference Tom Duday, but there was a
Well,
movie
but
poster.
that's the expectation,
all
isn't
the
it?
players that had recently re-signed, and there was a name missing.
Yes.
If it's not Tom Duday, it's a really big story.
Well, I'll tell you what, the only place we hear all about it, direct from the great man himself, the dude, the O-Doodah Day.
Yeah.
Right here, 5AA Breakfast.
He's coming up after breaking at 8 this morning, which, again, you should stick around for. Probably time to read 2 texts, David, on the Telstra Storm Outback text line.
I tell you what, there's some deeply uncharitable but quite understandable messages about the motorcyclist depicted in that video that he took himself. I actually thought he maxed out at 237 kilometres an hour. Matt Brown said he was doing up to 270.
Yep.
In like 60 zones. And, did himself quite the mischief when he came off. Lifelong brain injuries, terrible effect. I actually think his family, deserve huge plaudits for releasing that footage. Because obviously, as harrowing as it is, and there's a lot of people bagging the bloke on the text line, the family would have known that would inevitably be part of the public conversation around it. But they've done it for the most noble and important reason, which is to stop other young people, or any people, from going down that foolish path.
The video gives you a sense of the inevitability of it. You watch it and go, well, how else was this going to end? If you're going at that speed in an environment where cars can just stop,
yeah.
What else was going to happen?
Good text here. Regarding the speeding motorbike incident, the government has to take some responsibility as it allows businesses to sell products that far exceed legal road speed limits. The technology to limit top speed has been around for decades. I don't know. So you can't necessarily blame the government. It's the people who are doing it. But having said that, it is weird that when 110 kilometres an hour is the maximum anywhere in our state, you can still buy something that can do 280.
Yep. I think it's a reasonable question to ask. 5AA News Time, breaking at 8. Tom Duday will cross to Melbourne and we'll catch up with the Port Adelaide cheer squad. Huge next 60 minutes on 5AA Breakfast.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower 17 today with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Woken with a stiff neck or sore back? Get a Physio Extra appointment today. 6 locations, physioextra.com.
SA Health is waiting for a list of people who attended the Port Collingwood game at the MCG on Sunday after a fan tested positive to COVID. The person was sitting in Zone 4, Level 1 of the Great Southern Stand, where many Port fans were also seated. They can expect a text message and will have to isolate for 2 weeks. Premier Stephen Marshall has told 5AA Breakfast he has confidence in the systems in place.
We have really got advanced contact tracing. We've benchmarked ourselves right across the country, so virtually every jurisdiction has similar or comparable systems, and there's great data interchange between those systems. So I expect that we're moving away from the hard lockdown situation.
As a result, this weekend's footy matches are now in limbo. These 5AA listeners were at the game.
Yeah, we're in Bay M4. Down Punt Road end, so we're one of the hot zones. It's a bit scary that it happens so quickly.
Me and Anne, my daughter, and her friends, we all went over. So, yeah, we all got notified and we're all home today. I was in M3. I was right behind the goal.
The night sky will feature an orange and red moon tonight. The rare super blood moon will be visible from across Australia. But astronomer Dave Renicky says you have to get your timing right to see the moon at its reddest.
It's going to be the best supermoon we've had all year, and probably the best one in a few years. Adelaide time, 7:14 p.m. Start to see a change in the moon. You'll see a little bit of the edge start to go pinky colour. At 8:41 your p.m. it's going to be total. And this is when you'll see it turn that beautiful red colour.
US President Joe Biden will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin for the first time in person next month. The summit in Geneva comes amid escalating tensions between the two countries in the first few months of the Biden administration. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the leaders will discuss a range of issues in an effort to try and restore the relationship.
We don't expect everything to be solved at the end of this meeting, but we think that it is in our interest to have the meeting, which is why we proposed it to the president.
The US Secretary of State is committing to building support to rebuild Gaza to try and bolster a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. Antony Blinken has held talks with both the Israeli Prime Minister and Palestinian leaders during his tour of the Middle East. Mr Blinken says there's still a long way to go until peace can be assured.
We welcome the ceasefire that continues to hold, but that's not enough. We have to build on the ceasefire and try to move things in a genuinely positive direction.
A massive cocaine haul has washed up on a British beach in waterproof bags. Passers-by discovered the bags tied to life jackets in East Sussex. The haul is worth £80 million. Gunshots have rung out at the memorial site for George Floyd in Minneapolis, panicking crowds 1 year since he was murdered by American police. Nine's Amelia Adams reports from the US.
As hundreds gathered in Minneapolis to mark the 1 year anniversary of George Floyd's death, gunfire broke out. This reporter was live on air as the drama unfolded.
Bill of comprehensive police reform to be... just got to be careful here with some gunshots. Excuse us.
Police have confirmed one person was injured. The scene quickly returned to calm. Rallies will be held across America today in George Floyd's honour. His family has just met with US President Joe Biden, as well as lawmakers on Capitol Hill, pushing for a police reform bill in George Floyd's name.
The first man to receive the Pfizer vaccine in the UK has died, but the death is unrelated to the jab. Bill Shakespeare was 81. Now turning to FIVEaa Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
And it's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. As we've heard earlier, there's a lot going on in Melbourne ahead of this weekend's round 11 matches in the AFL due to the latest COVID cluster in Victoria. The Bulldogs are in quarantine but are still set to play their match against Melbourne at Marvel Stadium on Friday night, while at this stage Adelaide is set to tackle Richmond at the MCG on Sunday. Port Adelaide is set to host Fremantle on Sunday as well. Midfielder Kane Farrell hoping to keep his good form going after an impressive outing against Collingwood, which saw him claim a career-high 23 touches. He's played 28 AFL matches so far and told Rowie this one felt like his best so far.
Yeah, I agree. It was probably one of my best games for the club so far. Hopefully more and better to come. Just playing at more of a wing role and a little bit more of that mid. So I get to go inside the contest a bit more than what I have in the last few times.
To soccer, the Brisbane Roar's taken a huge step towards guaranteeing their spot in the A-League finals after a convincing 3-0 win against Melbourne City. South Aussie Thanasi Kokonakis has been knocked out of qualifying for the French Open after going down in straight sets to American Mackenzie McDonald. The Adelaide 36ers' bad patch of form has continued after suffering an 18-point loss at the hands of the New Zealand Breakers. Meantime, NBA playoff wins for Milwaukee and Denver. This morning, Brooklyn will play against Boston in Game 2 of their series. And Australian golfer Jason Day has dropped to number 67 in the world rankings and is likely to miss the US Open. And that's the FIVEaa Sport.
Now checking FIVEaa traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
A collision in the Parklands causing delays for Fullerton Road between the Britannia roundabout heading towards Green Hill Road. The Southern Expressway residual delays there travelling into the city following an earlier collision now clear. Also busy at Main North Road at Kings Road and Bridge Road at McIntyre Road for the roadworks through those areas. If you feel a chicken craving coming on, get down to Red Rooster for the Trumpo lunch. Juicy chicken, chips and pineapple fritter all for $5.95. Get it while you can, where you can, available till 4 p.m. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on FIVEaa.
Now the FIVEaa forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
A possible shower today, a top of 17, partly cloudy tomorrow 18, Friday much the same 18. Right now it's 14 degrees. More news as it happens on FIVEaa.
In the last hour on Adelaide's FIVEaa.
Premier, what's the latest you're hearing out of Victoria, and what's your direction to South Australians who might have ventured off and gone over to see the game on the weekend?
People have already been contacted by the Victorian Health Department. They're providing, my understanding is that they're providing us with a list today. That's certainly what we're expecting, and then people will be contacted by SA Health. Tier 1 and Tier 2 we treat almost exactly the same, so those people will need to isolate for the 14 days and get themselves tested on day 1, day 5 and day 13. We're going to have to abide by these new restrictions that are going to be put in place for people that attend to the MCG, as well as the new restrictions put in place last night by the Police Commissioner that anybody coming in from the Greater Melbourne area will need to get themselves tested on day 1, day 5 and day 13.
Got a follow-up from the Premier's office. SA Health will be contacting those who are at the MCG by text when they get more info from Victorian authorities this morning. And just to repeat, suspect if you're sitting between bays M1 and M16, which includes the Port Cheer squad, it means you aren't going to the footy this weekend. You've got to isolate for 2 weeks.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
9 after 8, we're going to chat with Luke Borland from the Port Adelaide Cheer squad in just a couple of moments. It's worth perhaps just rolling straight into breaking at 8 following that, because it follows on and it's based on some of the inquiries we've made about some of the potential difficulties for South Australians beyond those who are just Port Adelaide fans and football fans out of the weekend. So the official direction from SA Health is this: if you're entering South Australia and have been in Greater Melbourne in the last 14 days, you must get a COVID test as soon as possible and quarantine until you receive a negative result. That's not for those that were sitting in the affected bays at the MCG. That's the general recommendation for people travelling from Greater Melbourne back to SA. It also says get tested again on day 5 and day 13 after arrival. There is no requirement to quarantine after receiving a negative result on your first test unless you have symptoms. The other thing you're not allowed to do, and this is really intriguing, not attend a COVID management plan event for 14 days after your arrival.
So that means major sporting events, anything at a big oval where there's
That's
huge
right.
crowds.
They have management plans to allow them to get more people than they would typically be allowed to under the state of emergency we're in here in South Australia. Now, Adelaide United are facing a problem as a result of this, having played in Melbourne over the weekend.
And they're meant to be playing here this weekend.
Now, obviously, their fans that travelled will now be in the same boat as Port Adelaide fans who travelled. That is, you won't be able to attend the game. Well, Port are playing here this weekend. You won't be able to attend that game. You won't be able to attend the Adelaide United game if you're over there. There is a question, too, that goes to what happens to Adelaide United players who, perhaps most likely, were hanging around Greater Melbourne as a result of their game on the weekend, and they would be attending a event, you'd imagine, that is a COVID management plan event in terms of their next game. It's not an easily resolved question. We've been in touch with the football boss, Bruce Jitte, at Adelaide United. They're still chasing up answers. They're not sure right now what the state of their next fixture is, just as there are so many Port fans who travelled back that are unsure about what their situation currently is. So there are a host of unresolved questions out of a direction that's capturing this many people from what transpired in Melbourne on Sunday.
One other part that we can throw into this too is that I understand that the Adelaide Crows are currently trying to work out what it means for them vis-a-vis travelling to Melbourne to play against Richmond at what may well be an empty MCG this Sunday. Who knows what is going to happen crowd-wise. The games we think are going to go ahead, but you would imagine also that there would be hundreds of Crows fans who are holding tickets, and give us a ring if you are, folks, because with the borders back open, increasingly people are flying into state for football games.
Yep.
There would be hundreds of Crows fans because Richmond v Crows at the G is a big game, who would have plans to be heading over there. So that's one other angle that is going to have some more light shed on it in the coming hours.
12 minutes after 8, Luke Borland is the Vice President of the Port Adelaide Cheer Squad. Luke, good morning to you, mate. Presumably you were sitting in somewhere between bays M1 and M16, it taking everyone who was sitting at ground level from the pocket on one side of the ground, almost around a centre wing, sort of the half-forward flank on the opposing side, and that well and truly captures the Port Adelaide Cheer Squad.
Yes, it does. Good morning. I actually didn't go to the game on the weekend.
Oh,
so
lucky you.
Yeah, well, at this stage, yes. But no, I know a hell of a lot of our members who are from not only Melbourne, came from South Australia, Queensland, WA, that are obviously all affected this morning.
Do you know, Luke, have you got like a rough estimate as to how many Port fans were there with the cheer squad in that part of the G on the weekend?
In our bay, I'm going to estimate between 1,000 to 1,500, so quite a substantial amount of people.
What does it mean for the cheer squad this coming weekend?
So for us in general, we've released statements on our Facebook and Instagram pages this morning, just basically explaining to people, please do the right thing that's being directed by Vic Health and SA Health. And we'd obviously, urge that if you're feeling unwell and, you have been tested, do the right thing. And obviously we've got our banner making on Friday night, don't attend. And obviously now that everyone needs to self-isolate, you won't come to the game on Sunday. But our immediate thoughts, obviously, with all of our members, and it's just a case of, do the right thing and you'll get through this and we can beat this.
The Port home game is a special thing these days at the new Adelaide Oval for Port supporters. Luke, do you have any idea what proportion of your cheer squad normally travels, and will you still have a cheer squad presence there this Sunday for the game against FIVEaa?
Undoubtedly, we still have a cheer squad presence. We are the loudest supporters in the AFL, so there won't be any problems there. But it's more along the lines of I'm going to say at least 20 to 30 of our regular cheer squad members in our Adelaide Oval. They probably won't be there this Sunday for Sir Doug Nicholls round.
Feels a bit like the revenge of Collingwood, all of this happening, doesn't it, after all the dramas you've had over the jumper this past 12 months?
Yeah, no comment on that one.
Hey, Luke, you going to draft in some replacements? What are you going to do about filling the holes in the cheer squad for this weekend?
Normally you'd say yes, but due to SA Health regulations and codes, no one else could be sitting in those seats. Obviously, it'll be the same as it always is, wearing your mask in and around the oval, checking your QR code, but you have designated seats. So unfortunately, no, there'll be some empty seats.
Well, Luke, you guys, it seems like you've taken a very responsible and reasonable approach to this, and it sounds like everyone in the cheer squad accepts that's just the state of the world, unfortunately, in 2021. Thanks for talking to us. Luke Borland, the Vice President of the Port Adelaide cheer squad.
As annoying as it is, the thing we've learnt is that the sooner everyone falls in a line and does exactly the sort of stuff that Luke just outlined, the sooner you can get through it.
That's right.
That was the lesson from Queensland. It was the lesson from the Northern Beaches. It was the lesson from the tragicomic Woodville Pizza Bar outbreak, which, whatever you say about how that one panned out, it only lasted 3 days in the end. So,
Yeah. All right, let's check traffic thanks to Dave Pott Honda, because we've got a very important chat to have with our man Tom Douday in a moment, who has officially put pen to paper on a 2-year contract extension. Does that mean we can ink him up for longer term now?
Think so.
Do we do the negotiations live on the air?
Let's do it on the air.
All right.
Let's do it.
I don't know what our starting negotiation is, so we better huddle up in a moment. He's coming up in a moment. Save up to have a whole lot of cash thanks to Dave Pott Honda. We can get a great deal in 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles. That's Dave Pott Honda.
A smash in the Parklands Fullerton Road near Green Hill Road that crews are working to clear, and it's busy around the expressway. Those are residual delays heading towards the city from an earlier collision now clear. The roadworks around Bridge Road to McIntyre Road and Main North Road at Kings Road, slowing things down around those areas as well. Drive away the all-new ZS at Hamilton MG from $21,990 with 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty. Head to Hamilton MG Brighton and more for Val, Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie Sport Show.
Victoria, they've introduced new COVID restrictions after a cluster of cases that's growing. There are 4 games in Victoria for round 11, including the Crows-Richmond clash at the MCG on Sunday. Here's Scott Burns, Crows Senior Assistant.
We're not sure what will happen from here.
4 p.m. weekdays.
Imagine if that Tigers game was moved from the MCG. Imagine the uproar from Damien and Hardwick. You might have to call this fella, I reckon.
Rowie Sport Show on 5AA.
Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the best way to protect yourself and your loved ones and to keep our state safe. Those currently eligible include people over 50, healthcare and allied health workers, aged care and disability staff, and people with an underlying medical condition. Book now at one of our new clinics across Metro and Regional SA or at local GPs and respiratory clinics. To book, visit covidvaccine.sa.gov.au.
A message from the Government of South Australia.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability, get world-leading safety, and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage. For sales, service and hire, get a Toyota forklift.
Care Alert, a name we can all trust. Well, they've just released their new GPS Go Anywhere Care Alert pendant, and it's a beauty. Whether you're home or out and about, this new pendant will notify your family of exactly where you are if you fall over or have a sudden medical incident. You can even speak through your pendant. Brilliant. And all for under $399. Or it could be free through your My Aged Care or NDIS funding. Call 1300 75 85 95 or visit carealert.com.au.
This was Jason's plant nursery. Until he received a tip about his business in the CommBank app, saying his customers were younger than he thought. So this is Jason's plant nursery now.
The more you know, the more you grow.
Growing your business by knowing more about your customers? That's a business app Vantage. Available with a CommBank FPOS terminal. Can lives here. Business tips are prepared by CommBank. Conditions apply. Visit commbank.com.au/dailyiq.
As the world changes, spaces change. We should know. For 110 years, Workspace has manufactured through world wars, depressions, and now a pandemic, seeking to inspire productivity in the spaces they shaped. Adapt your space to a changing world with bespoke, high-quality furniture made here in SA. Workspace can manufacture, freight, and install your commercial furniture needs. Get solutions for the spaces of today and tomorrow. Make space work at workspace.com.au.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
I'm the dude, so that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or duder or, you know, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
This season, one dude, one decision. Dude, that is unbelievable, that mark. Fans are calling for it. The signing they've been waiting for. Tom Duday stars in 2 more years.
That's how the news was announced by the Crows website. Wonderful production, like a movie trailer. Tom Duday signs on for 2 more years. He's here with us in the 5AA Breakfast studio. Thanks to Leader Computers, Australia's largest PC and server manufacturer, built and serviced right here in Adelaide. Congratulations to you, mate.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Very exciting news, Tom. So 2 more years. How do you feel about it? You know, clearly a vote of confidence in where you are.
Yeah, obviously over the moon. Yeah, it's something that was never really in doubt in terms of me going anywhere else and the club not wanting me to go anywhere else. It was more about I'd been pretty consistent early on in the pre-season, just talking about how I wanted to get my body right before the contract was signed, and then once the season started going, the negotiation obviously isn't going to happen overnight, but yeah, eventually we got it done, and I am over the moon, mate.
Fantastic. Nice cinematic touch as well, appropriately given your status as the sort of, you know...
Yeah, I think that's why they did it.
Pauline Keele.
Yeah, you're the movie guy. Yeah, that's right.
True,
Yeah.
The David Stratton of football.
I had to put that together for a little bit.
Well, they put up a movie poster too, the Crows. It's sort of an Ocean's 11 style tribute.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, which is mocked up because of you're the 11th Crow to re-sign this year, which is a great vote of confidence. Where
I might claim that one as well.
Yeah, I think you should
that one out
claim it. Or you're the first person to talk about it, so you can claim whatever the hell you like at this point in time.
I can say whatever.
Hey, is that the most fun you've had playing footy for the Crows on Saturday? It looked like, particularly after the game, like that was just one hell of a game of football.
Yeah, if you had said to me after the Geelong game that you're going to have more fun playing in an upset win this year, I would have probably thought you were a liar. But yeah, I reckon just the way that the Geelong game was different in the sense we were underrated, but we held on the whole game and sort of like just kept that pressure up. But the fact that Melbourne got that 16-point lead and just sort of went, maybe we're going to just fall off in the fourth quarter, and it was going to be another week of, it was a good effort and moral victory sort of thing, but our ability to come back and win it the way that, with Tex kicking that goal and then the final sort of 35 seconds and the controversy that come with that was just an insane sort of time, and it was unbelievable, especially for the crowd there too. The crowd was absolutely unbelievable.
I want to talk to you a bit about what had transpired. There were some big moments in that last quarter. I just want to revisit the contract momentarily, though, because that's the big news of the morning, you sticking around. Did you consider I mean, did you or the Crows consider having a longer-term contract? You're 23, super healthy, huge part of the future of the Adelaide Football Club.
Not particularly. I sort of went at it with 2 years more for just flexibility in terms of like my career. I still feel like I've got a lot to develop on, a lot to get better at. But then also it just gives you a bit of that movement with the team and stuff like that in terms of if you lock yourself into a long-term deal, then like later down the line, if things change, like not in terms of moving, but more in terms of if we want to get good players in and restructure some other stuff, I just more kept that flexibility. And then in probably 2 or 3 years' time, that's when we'll look to do the longer-term one and lock in from there.
When everyone sits down, anyone in any business that sits down has contracts, you sort of look where you're at, but you probably look at where the business is at if it's business, or you look where your team's at the moment. You clearly... This is, as David's phrased it, a vote of confidence with the direction of the club. When you look around at the team at the moment, and it goes a bit to the game on the weekend, what excites you?
Almost everything, to be honest. And that's not hyperbole in the sense, like it's genuinely from top down, from CEO to head coach, head of football, all the playing group, like what we've got in the older boys and the way they lead, to the younger boys, how hard they work. Our training staff, sports science, I think everything we've got in place right now is where we need it to be. And we still need to get better because obviously we're not top of the ladder. We're not talking premierships just yet. But in terms of having a young group and what we want to build, I can't see anything that we've done wrong this year in terms of that stuff. So for me, it wasn't even a debate. It was just like, how can we get this done so that I can stay here and keep building?
We saw a couple of these young guys have big moments on the weekend in big moments in the context of that game as well.
Nick Murray. I didn't even know who he was until Saturday. First thing I said Monday, great game. Who is he?
Well, let's start there. Let's talk about your teammate in defence because Melbourne won a lot of the footy. And they won a lot of it out of the centre. Max Gawn had a big game. Clayton Oliver played one of the best games of footy I think I've ever seen a midfielder play. Yet the defence held strong. How impressed with you with the back six unit?
Yeah, we went a bit taller, bringing in Nick Murray, and that meant Will Hamill had to get pushed out, and he went back and had a great game against Norwood, so he responded really well. But I think just our ability to find that balance between rolling off and supporting each other and defending as a team versus just getting it done when you had to. And Muzz has got... He plays with just such a passion. He just wants to get to every contest, and some of that stuff we're watching him come back off on the vision on Monday. We're watching him come from nearly 40 metres away to come over and spoil the ball when there's already about 6 of us there. But that's what we love about him. He just gets to everything. And
he flies at everything too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he just goes. And that's so... I don't know, he just sort of brings a different element to us as another tall, and allowed obviously me to play a little bit smaller, allowed Jake Kelly to go to Fritsch, and I felt like we just got... Not necessarily got the job done every time, but we competed every time and made it a contest against a pretty solid Melbourne forward line.
Yeah, undefeated Melbourne team. The two big moments the other end of the ground, the Darcy Fogarty goal and the Taylor Walker goal at the end that gave you guys the lead. Where were you? What were you thinking in both those moments?
I was in the back line for both of them, as you can imagine. I wasn't really up the ground. Actually, I was a little bit up the ground with the Tex one. Didn't want the ball in my hands because I haven't kicked a goal in a while. So I was like, please get it away. So when Tex took the mark, I was like, thank God for that. But the Fog one, I was just behind him, knew that was going through because he's a dead eye as well. And then Tex, it was. I thought there was a bit more time left. Everyone, like you see, Jimmy Rowe celebrates a little bit, and I'm thinking, I reckon there's a bit more than what you think's left. So I sort of start to walk back towards goal, and then as Tex kicks it, I genuinely run back, and that's when we started to get set up. All right, we're back to my man, so I can drop off, and that's when we started to do that stuff.
Well, you're right to say, Tom, that a few things did happen in the remaining 40 seconds of the game, and if you read the Victorian football media or listen to all those disgruntled stockbrokers who barrack for the D's. You think the only angle in their minds, in their sad, twisted minds, out of this game was the handball at the end. Now, I saw you manfully explaining on Channel 9 on Sunday that they all it was a weird figment of their imagination that the ball wasn't aimed at you. Clearly, the AFL saw it differently, though.
Oh, yeah, there was a little bit of tongue-in-cheek on the Sunday footy show, I reckon, mate. As one of my friends told me.
Wasn't there a deflection, though? There was a. Did you see that video? There was a bit of a deflection.
I think it's so hard, especially in like a bang-bang moment like that, like to be genuine about it. I think it's really hard to call. Like, obviously, it looked like he was handballing it towards it, but really, there was a deflection. So how do you know that ball wasn't coming towards me, or how do you know it wasn't going to drop short? Like, I don't know. It's such a... There were so many calls throughout the game that can go either way. Just a single one out as the reason that Melbourne didn't get the win is sort of a bit... Yeah. But anyways, we've moved on from that.
Winners are grinners.
Yeah, exactly. As I well put.
What have you spoken about the club this week, building up to the game against Richmond that almost we know nothing about? Will there be fans? Will it happen? What do you know?
Honestly, the same as everyone else at the moment. It's at a point where we are day by day just waiting, and whether it be play it here, play it there, fly in, fly out, or whether the cases go away and we go by usual, or whether it's we have no idea. So at the moment, it's just we're looking forward to Richmond as if it's a normal week, because if it does get up, obviously we've got to be ready to go, but we can't guarantee anything.
Now, I tipped you guys last week to beat Melbourne.
Did you actually?
I did. No, I did. We can.
Yeah. We have a gauntlet competition that we run between everyone here, where you can only pick each team once.
Oh, like a Survivor.
Yeah, like a Survivor thing. Yeah. And David
Adelaide.
used his Adelaide against undefeated Melbourne on the weekend, so he did put his money where his mouth is.
You'd probably have to give Richmond a slight edge, though, because, given that Damien Hardwick has spoken publicly about the just, mind-blowing hardship of having to travel to Marvel Stadium, the fact that it's at the MCG sort of neutralises that for the Tigers is an issue this weekend.
I wish you could all see him smiling right now. The poor thing about radio.
Biggest whinges in football.
You are getting a little bit of love on the text line too, dude, about captaincy. But we might leave that question for another day.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at the contract for now. We'll move on to that. But thank you for the love, everyone. I appreciate it.
Coming through loud and clear. Great to have you in.
Appreciate it, guys.
Congrats again. Look forward to watching you this weekend.
Can't wait.
Thanks to Leader Computers, Australia's largest PC and server manufacturer, built and serviced right here in Adelaide.
Slow right down and set your watch to river time this winter. It's time to book your next escape to the Riverland. How about Berry? At SA Weekend Escapes, discover just how relaxing winter by the Murray can be. Find the best things to see and do, and uncover our latest hotel offers in the town of Berry. Plus, book your getaway with one of 10 SA hotels this winter, and you'll receive a complimentary bottle of Penfolds Red to warm up your trip. Visit saweekendescapes.com.au to find out more. Holiday here this year.
This is Adelaide's FIVEaa.
A possible shower 17 today with the 8:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust Physio Extra. Norwood, Purie Street, Marion, Hallicove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. PhysioExtra.com.
Port fans who were at the MCG on Sunday may have to isolate for the next 2 weeks. It's after a fan sitting in Zone 4, Level 1 of the Great Southern Stand tested positive for COVID. Victorian authorities will provide SA Health with a list of those at risk, and they'll be contacted. Premier Stephen Marshall has told FIVEaa Breakfast they don't want to take any chances.
We've dealt with these types of outbreaks in Australia in recent months very successfully in Queensland and in New South Wales, and I expect it to be the same in Victoria. But we're going to have to abide by these new restrictions that are going to be put in place for people that attended the MCG, as well as the new restrictions put in place last night.
Luke Borland from the Port Cheer Squad says it means there'll be some empty seats at the footy this weekend.
I'm going to say at least 20 to 30 of our regular cheer squad members in our Bay at Adelaide Oval. They probably won't be there this Sunday for Sir Doug Nicholls round.
Police are investigating an incident at Thorngate last night where a car struck a teenager. It happened around 8:40 on Thorngate Street. The victim has serious but not life-threatening injuries. The voluntary assisted dying bill will return to the lower house tonight. The legislation, if passed, would give terminally ill patients the right to die if approved by two separate doctors. Advocate Lainey Anderson says it'll be a close vote.
Peter Malinauskas, as opposition leader, has voiced his support. So we think if no one changed their vote, we would have 24, which would just get it across the line.
A candlelight vigil in support of the bill will take place at Parliament House from 5:30 this evening. Americans are remembering George Floyd on the first anniversary of his death. The unarmed black man was killed at the hands of a white police officer, sparking worldwide protests. American civil rights activist, the Reverend Al Sharpton, says the 46-year-old's death ignited change.
George Floyd's murder energized and ignited a movement all over the globe. And the thing that was extraordinary about this is that it was intergenerational and it was multiracial.
Wills and Kate are undertaking a week of engagements in Scotland. Nine's Carrie-Anne Greenbank has more.
Prince William and Kate have continued their tour of Scotland by heading out to sea to observe the world's largest tidal energy turbine at the European Marine Energy Centre. The royal couple also opening a new hospital on their first official visit to Orkney and hearing from healthcare workers about their experiences during the pandemic.
There'll be a blood red supermoon tonight. It's the first total lunar eclipse to be seen across Australia since July 2018. Astronomer Dave Renicky says it will look beautiful.
It's going to be really nice to have a look at for a lot of reasons here, because it's not only that a supermoon means it's a lot bigger and brighter, but it's also going to be a blood moon. It's going to be a cherry red colour, nice, beautiful, saucy colour.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
What's happening at Alberton, Tom Wren?
Bit of breaking news here, Mel. Now, Port Adelaide's players and staff are in isolation this morning. The entire travelling party from the MCG game has been told to self-isolate until they turn in a negative COVID test after a fan in the crowd tested positive, as we know from the weekend. Meantime, Adelaide defender Tom Doedee has re-signed with Adelaide and will stay at the club until the end of 2023. He's the 11th player to re-sign with the club this year, and he's told David and Will he's delighted it's now officially done.
Something that was never really in doubt in terms of me going anywhere else and the club not wanting me to go anywhere else. It was more about I'd been pretty consistent early on in the pre-season, just talking about how I wanted to get my body right before the contract was signed, and then once the season started going, the negotiation obviously isn't going to happen overnight, but eventually we got it done, and I am over the moon, mate.
Still on footy, and Carlton's considering appealing after Lachie Plowman's 2-match ban for rough conduct was upheld at the tribunal last night. Meantime, Essendon has brought forward its flight to Perth and will leave this morning. That's ahead of Saturday's match against West Coast as fears grow over Melbourne's COVID outbreak. To basketball, and the Adelaide 36ers will arrive home today after suffering a 94 to 76 point loss to the New Zealand Breakers. The result is the Sixers' 5th straight loss. To tennis, Australian Storm Sanders has had a win at the French Open qualifiers, but fellow Aussies Matt Ebden and Thanasi Kokkinakis have both been knocked out. And Australian rookie Morgan Cibilic has gone down to World Surfing #1 Gabrielle Medina in the final of the World Surf Tour event at Rottnest Island. Sally Fitzgibbons has taken out the women's title. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
A smash in the Parklands causing delays for Fullerton Road back from the Britannia roundabout towards Green Hill Road for outbound traffic. Other busy spots, Anzac Highway from Morford Road, as well as around Bridge Road to McIntyre Road for roadworks. Main North Road at Kings Road has works causing some delays too. Making funeral arrangements can be difficult. When you need to, talk to Alfred James, your family-owned South Australian funeral directors. Alfred James, the final farewell matters. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
And in breaking news, the Melbourne COVID cluster has grown to 14 with another 5 new cases today. To the weather, a possible showers 17 today, partly cloudy tomorrow 18, Friday much the same, also 18. Right now it's 14 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Mum, I'm bored. Are we there yet?
Mate, we've only been in the car for 20 minutes. And look, here's West Beach Parks.
Did you pack the marshmallows?
You bet.
Don't spend your entire break driving. Enjoy a short winter break at West Beach Parks. Glamp camp or cabin in style. Affordable, relaxing fun for everyone. West Beach Parks. Come to life this winter.
For over 36 years, Steinborner has been well worth the trip. With over 400 used cars to choose from, you're sure to find the car you're looking for. Steinborner is your first choice for new Hyundai and Mitsubishi in the Barossa, and your first choice for Ford in Clare. And don't forget, you can always click through the collection of vehicles online at steinborner.com.au. Great local deals on great local cars from your locals. Steinborner Automotive. Still well worth a trip, or well worth the click.
Eye health on healthy living. Thanks to Specsavers.
1 in 5 people won't seek medical assistance when they experience a problem with their eyes. Patrick Mack is an optometrist with Specsavers.
It is very high, and unfortunately this just means there's just a lot of Australians out there that are at risk of vision loss. The funny thing is that many of this stuff is actually preventable by simply getting an eye exam.
So what are some of the reasons people give you for not booking an appointment when they experience an issue?
One of the common ones is people think that there wasn't just anything wrong, or that the condition itself might might just resolve itself. You know, actually last week, a lady came in thinking that she had something wrong with her specs, but she left it for weeks before she came back. And unfortunately, there was bleeding at the macula when she came back. That was just permanent vision loss that we couldn't fix. She had to come back sooner than that to get that resolved. And the key message is to get it seen to.
Specsavers, where every eye test includes an OCT Advanced 3D eye scan at no extra charge.
Hey, guess what I'm thinking?
Again? I guess we could make it a quickie.
Okay.
Actually, it's such a nice night. We should do it on the deck.
Yeah.
For quick and easy new twists to old family favourites, just get some pork on your fork.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
21 minutes to 9. Just some big developments in 5AA news you've just heard. Just want to put them back to back to back so that you get a sense of what we've learnt just this morning when it comes to the COVID situation in Victoria. The big headline there we've just heard is 5 new cases, taking it to a total of 14 in Melbourne. The other thing that we've just learnt, and Tom Wren had it in news, the Port Adelaide Football Club players in travelling party are in isolation until they get a negative test, which puts them in Tier 3. Puts them in the same category of fans who are at the game but not sitting in the affected area under the Victorian health standard of tiering. And then, of course, now the other thing we've learnt is a follow-up to our breaking at 8 with regard to the future of Adelaide United's fixtures. Of course, they played a game in Melbourne. The players were presumably knocking around in Melbourne. And the specific direction from SA Health is that if you've been in Greater Melbourne, you can't go to an event that has a COVID management plan, which is all major sporting events. We've followed up. We're being told that they need to seek a specific exemption from SA Health for that fixture to go ahead.
So for the players to play,
yes,
the club will need to contact SA Health saying we seek permission to play at Hindmarsh this weekend.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. So big developments back here in Adelaide as a result of what's transpired in Victoria, but you know it pales in comparison to what it must be like as a Melbourneite waking up this morning, Melburnian, hearing the news that it's grown to 14, and that's what John Ferguson's done, someone who we've spoken to across the journey from the Australian, based in Melbourne. John, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, boys.
So, Fergs, it's been a while since we spoke, because happily things had quietened down in Melbourne, but given everything that's happened in the last 48 hours, what's the mood like in Melbourne now?
Look, I think, definitely apprehension, I think, is probably the main. People are just nervous that we're heading into, because it's almost, it's exactly a year after we started going into the big lockdown from sort of last year. So, everyone's apprehensive. Look, my feedback from inside government last night was that they were hopeful that they'll be able to contain it, that basically, but now we're reading just now, there's 5 new local cases have been announced from yesterday. So basically it's really very much up in the air, and what it seems like is that the government's not going to go into their default position of a big lockdown to start with. But as I said, this is moving pretty quickly, and all they do is they just look at the evidence and they go, well, this is really spreading. Well, then we're heading into another lockdown.
I've really liked the way you've covered this for the Australian, mate, because I think you've written as a Melburnian who often feels a sense of probably anger's the word at the way on social media this has become, like Victoria became a bit of an ideological whipping boy for people on the left, people on the right, and there's hashtags I stand with Dan, and there's other people condemning him. You know, it must be kind of exhausting when you're just trying to go about your business, do your job, look after your kids when they're being homeschooled and everything, to see it becoming a political football the way that it did. But given the extent of the discussion around the whys and wherefores of the hard lockdown last year, do you think that the Andrews government would be thinking long and hard about whether it pulled that lever again?
Oh, look, I think there's an enormous amount of politics in all of this. I think that's probably right. I haven't been able to pin down anyone in government to say that, but as in the Victorian government. But there's 2 years here. One is the Victorian government, the Andrews/Molino government, and the other is Scott Morrison, because you've got basically two levels that haven't actually worked very well at all. Now, if the vaccination rollout had been more effective, we wouldn't be as worried as we are now, but the vaccination rollout has been pathetic. And then on the other level in Victoria, you have a dysfunctional Department of Health that really, that's what worries me most, is whether or not on the ground, because the way things work in Australia, but most of the health service delivery comes out of the state. And I just think the framework for the Department of Health is really worrying. But then on the other level, we've got Scott Morrison and co playing politics with the vaccination rollout and also with hotel quarantine, because what we've got at the moment, this actual spread in Melbourne came from Adelaide, of quarantine in Adelaide. So they've done that genomic testing. So it's really a national story, but with the states having to do the heavy lifting on the service delivery.
You're an expat South Aussie, Narracourt boy originally. Has there been much feeling in Melbourne about the role that South Australia's played in letting this slip out of quarantine?
Oh, I don't think so. Look, I think it's basically my take on it is that, and this comes to what you were saying earlier. People don't really care about the politics at all. They just want outcome. And I think people understand that hotel quarantine is really, really, really difficult to contain. In fact, you can't contain it, which then goes to the other question of why haven't we got, hotel quarantine facilities outside the cities as we have in the Northern Territory? And to me, that's a no-brainer. And again, you'd have to say the feds have really dragged, have been really, really slow on that uptake. So, but I don't think people care about the politics. I just think they want outcome.
Yeah, totally.
John, what do you think? What are you hearing with regard to what might change, if anything, following the announcement of the 5 new cases this morning, restriction-wise, and then I guess footy-wise for this weekend?
Well, the sport. One of the senior ministers has just come out and said that there will be crowds at football, which I think is pretty interesting. That points to me that they are thinking they're not going to go into a hard lockdown. That's what it seems like to me. Now, all this stuff can change, and it could change this afternoon. But Martin Pakula was saying that basically you'll have to wear a mask. I suspect there'll be fewer people there. They may well, if it's Marvel Stadium, leave the roof open. There'll be all sorts of nuances in what they do, but it seems to me that they want the footy to go ahead and they want people there.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because at the same time you can't have gatherings of more than 30 people.
Well, you see, and what that's about is the gathering. They can't. What they think they can't control what happens indoors, because basically the virus spreads more rapidly indoors and in private settings.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're outdoors at the footy, is the theory, and I don't totally get it. And I spoke to an epidemiologist last week who thinks it's crazy that you have, 50, 60, 70,000 people at the footy, and I tend to agree. I mean, it is contradictory. But basically, if you're outside, the chances of contracting the virus are much lower than if you're sitting at home with a group of people, a group of mates. That's the health reason.
Yeah, yeah. Well, John, hopefully, these extra cases and all the sort of consternation and confusion about people moving back and forth between here and Melbourne doesn't result in anything like what we saw last year. It sounds like it won't. So, fingers crossed. And mate, we always love catching up with you to get the sense of how it's all playing out on the ground over there in Melbourne. Look after yourself, mate.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
Good on you. Cheers, John.
John Ferguson from The Australian in Melbourne this morning, 13 to 9. Let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
A collision at Morford Vale on the Southern Expressway near Beach Road, blocking the left-turn lane travelling outbound. They're still waiting to clear collision in the Parklands at Fullerton Road, causing delays outbound from the Britannia roundabout towards Greenhill Road. Other busy spots, very heavy for Portrush Road towards the freeway, as well as Regency Road at the North-South motorway. So while you're at it, drive through to McCafe. They've crafted a new blend that's smooth and rich with a hint of sweet berry. McCafe, now that's coffee fit for an Aussie. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
This used to be in every car. A little lever on the dash. Left for cold air, right for hot air. But no matter how many times Jenny slides it from left to right, the car's just as cold. And no matter how many nights her and her mum sleep in this car, it's just as uncomfortable. For every person you see sleeping on the streets, there are 13 more you don't see. So donate to the Red Shield Appeal today at salvationarmy.org.au to help the Salvos leave no one in need.
Hi, I'm Stephen Marshall. This past year has been a tough one for every South Australian, but because of your toughness and your teamwork, we now enjoy a safer place to live, work and raise a family. We're getting on with our recovery plan, creating new industries and new jobs and investing more than ever before in health, upgrading all metropolitan hospitals while expanding our emergency departments to give you access to the best healthcare close to home. My team and I will continue to work hard to create a future for all South Australians.
Spoken and authorised by S. Marshall, Liberal Party, Adelaide.
Did you know that the Reject Shop has your grocery essentials at Australia's cheapest prices? Including 500 gram Beyondia assorted pasta, only 50 cents each. For the cheapest snacks and groceries, it's got to be the Reject Shop, where we guarantee cheapest prices every day.
Dreaming of an Audi? Make it a reality. The Audi End of Financial Year event. On now at Audi Solitaire. Ends June 30, 2021, while stock lasts. T's and C's and exclusions at audisolitaire.com.au, DL 65541.
3 words your friends and family never like hearing.
We're moving house.
Well, you can always rely on budget truck and car rentals to help out. From 3-ton moving trucks you can drive on a car licence to vans and moving trailers. Budget car and truck rentals make it easy as to move house. Do it right in half the time and save money with budget car and truck rentals. Call 13 27 27.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
10 to 9, behind closed doors coming up in just a moment. Then after 9 o'clock, unfortunately Leon Byner's off crook today. So they've made the early morning call to a man who loves early morning calls. It's Graham Goodings. Morning, Dad.
Off the bench. I've been sitting on the bench for months and I got the call this morning.
You never know. You've got to stay ready.
Oh, I'm always ready.
Yeah.
I like
now I've got to stay awake.
These Goodings family catch-ups. They're always good.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other.
Yeah, it has been a little bit. You been well?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
How's things in your house?
It was a shame we didn't go to the footy on the weekend. We really stuffed that up royally, didn't we?
It? Bad mistake.
Yeah.
Bad mistake. What a game. What a game.
Don't tell me you didn't go. I tipped him. Don't tell me you didn't go because you thought, we're not going to win this one.
No. As Will attest, you know, you've got to be there when the good times and the bad.
That's right.
We sat through some bad losses as
we
kids.
did.
Dad tried to teach us lessons about how to be a good football fan.
We never left early, did we? Never left.
There was one game. Do you remember?
No.
There's a little one game. There was a Crows Fitzroy game
at
Footy Park. Well, they must have been up by 40 points in the fourth quarter, and you were livid. And you went, "That's it." And we were like, "Well, I thought you never left." And he went, "When it's this bad, then you can leave." It was once, only time.
You've ruined my reputation.
No,
I honestly don't recall that.
It's the exception that makes the rule.
Yeah. So you stick it out. So we would have been there, but I was otherwise engaged, unfortunately. But I did get to see it.
Yeah, right.
What a game! And you tipped them.
Yeah. No, I did.
You and KG.
Had a weird feeling.
Only 2 people on the planet.
No, Fitzy did too, I think.
Oh, Fitzy did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. They're all coming out of the woodwork now.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you're coming on a big news day.
Huge news day, and it's advancing as we speak. 5 more cases in Victoria of COVID, of course, and it's spilled across the border. There are suggestions now that Melbourne will go into another lockdown. And, you know, all of a sudden we sort of wind back the clock, 6 months or so. So, where will it all end? And, of course, lots of Port supporters have sort of gone into isolation. And, so we'll follow that. We're going to be speaking with Police Commissioner Grant Stevens for exactly the latest situation. And Nicholas Spurrier, too, will bring us totally up to date. In other stories we're looking at, the shortage of building supplies is causing huge problems. It's a $16 billion industry for South Australia, and It's going to cost people a lot of money, cost a lot of jobs, so we'll be talking about that. And on a probably happier note, we're in for a blood moon.
Yeah.
You guys talking about that this morning?
Yeah, 8:41 I think tonight.
Is it?
Lunar eclipse, something
Hopefully
like that.
there'll be no cloud and we'll be out there with our cameras.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Unlikely. You'll be out there with your camera.
I'll be out there with the camera.
Yeah, I didn't inherit that gene, that's for sure.
Actually, I remember getting up once. There was going to be a wonderful lunar display and meteorites and so forth. You know, it was going to be once in a like Halley's Comet. And so I was out there at 3:30 in the morning, middle of winter, camera ready, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I thought, am I the only person on the planet silly enough to believe, is it April Fool's Day? There was nothing happening in the sky. And so I crept back into bed and thought, well, I won't be fooled next time. But at least this blood moon is a more reasonable time.
This is much better position. We'll have fun.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Graham.
All right, it's 7 to 9. Let's go behind closed doors thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions. Interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed...
News and issues that matter to Adelaide.
This is Leon Biner.
Good morning and thank you for joining us this morning. It's always exciting, isn't it, not knowing just when I'll use the elephant in the room sound effect, but today we're going to be talking to a number of clever people about a range of issues. I tend not to have morons on because what the hell would they know? But look, this latest issue of violence at a junior sporting event has got us talking about the psychology of just what it is that makes mature adults resort to violence in front of the very people they're supposed to be nurturing and teaching the ways of the world. And I thought we'd get a bloke on who knows his stuff, one of our top psychologists, Dr. Darryl Cross. And I won't tell you up front that this is an interview I pre-recorded earlier, but it will be obvious by the huge gap before it starts. Let's talk to Darryl Cross. Well, Darryl Cross, what's your observation on this?
Well, Leon, I think any reasonable listener to your program would be horrified by what they saw in the media in relation to parents being involved in this incident at a particular football match, and they'd also be concerned by the fact that this interview is pre-recorded.
Well, why does this, in your opinion, why does this sort of thing happen?
Well, Leon, I think it's mainly time constraints. Maybe I wasn't available at the time you wanted me.
No.
Maybe I had to do another interview.
No, I mean the violence at the junior football.
Oh, right. Well, that's nothing more than idiots who can't control their behaviour.
Well, we have a text from someone who says, well, why would we be surprised when parents are being pulled over at school drop-off and testing positive to drugs?
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. But the conundrum with that, I find, is that if this is a pre-recorded interview, how did you get a text from a listener in the middle of it?
Well, I suppose there's...
The only two alternatives I can see here, Leon, is either it's not pre-recorded and it is live, or you just made up that text so it seems like you were getting a text.
Darryl Cross, thanks very much for your insight this morning. Well, I think there's a lot there to think about and a lot more to come on this. And frankly, our lax laws on drugs would certainly be the you-know-what. And there it is.
4 minutes to 9. For over 36 years, Steinborner certified cars has always exceeded expectations on value, service and selection. And that continues. That's why it's always well worth a trip to Steinborner certified cars in Gawler, Nuriutpa and Clare. For great deals on new and demo Hyundai, Ford and Mitsubishis, plus SA's biggest and best range of used cars. Make the trip to one of Steinborner's 8 dealerships or view the whole range of cars now at steinborner.com.au and join the thousands who know. Steinborner certified cars. It's well worth the trip.
I'm Kate Cotty, the first woman to sail solo, non-stop and unassisted around the world. And if you're like me, and where you call home changes over time, FIVEaa offers a range of home insurance options to choose from, including house, apartment and village living.
Call FIVEaa on 13 50 50 for a quote today. FIVEaa. Get set, go. FIVEaa is an authorised representative of AAI Limited, the product issuer. Limits, exclusions and conditions apply. Before buying this insurance, read the PDS. Contact us for a copy.
For over 2 decades, Avanti Care have delivered care with purpose to thousands of South Australians. And now we're thrilled to announce the opening of our new wellbeing hub on Fullerton Road, Kent Town. Like everything we do at Avanti Care, our wellbeing hub has real purpose, delivering a full range of allied healthcare services for adults of any age in one location. We even have an on-site health concierge to ensure you're getting the care you need. For more on our wellbeing hub, visit avanticare.com.au.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
2 to 9, Fuel Watch, thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Cheapest petrols in the north and northwest, $1.22 at the OTR Blair Athol on Main North Road, $1.21 at the Caltex Woolies on the corner of Prospect Road and Trigg Street, $1.22 at the Servos on Port Road in Woodville and Queenstown. Cheapest in Adelaide, though, is on North East Road, where it's $1.19 at the Windsor Gardens Liberty.
Big birthday shout out to Chris Jarmer, who is 7 today. Well, he's not 7. He's not 7. Jarmer's Kitchen turned 7 today. I'll tell you what, it was a life-changing moment eating that traditional schnitzel.
Need to go back. I went there for a breakfast once when they started doing breakfast. It's it's such a great accessible spot on the edge of the city.
Yeah, no, it's that whole part of town's great now.
Oh yeah,
Bowden Brompton, like
that development there is excellent.
No, it's good. I love this. I love this text. I love it so much. Scott from Modbury, regular texter, and always on a whole raft of different topics. But I think he speaks for a lot of South Australians here. Not all the Port supporters, but a few of them. Morning, boys. Keys was holding the ball, and it was a deliberate out of bounds every day of the week. And as a Port fan, I can honestly say it was great to see an SA team get one of those decisions go our way for once. We get enough going against us. Great game. Suck it up, VFL. Sorry, AFL. Good on you, Scott.
Well, it allows you you can dare to dream, can't you?
You can. Yeah, or maybe we'll have a Port one day. Then also, really good text. I totally agree with you, Tom. Dave and Will, just another question. My daughter lives in Melbourne and is supposed to be coming over for a wedding in 9 days' time. She's had both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. If she can't come over, what's the point? That's a very, very good text.
It's an excellent question. You're right.
And it goes to the heart of the debate we're having about, vaccine immunity for people to travel regardless of what's going on with COVID.
It's an element of this that's probably gone underreported, underexplored, because the vaccine rollout's been so slow. We don't ask the questions on behalf of the vaccinated right now. Maybe that'll be something we can follow up tomorrow morning on the program. Stick around. Graham Goodings coming up after 9 o'clock, and we'll catch you tomorrow morning from 6.
Online